Spirituality, that's a relationship between you and divinity, you and that which is divine, you and that which is responsible for all creation. Religion means to bind, to hold, to control.
Religions have been used as the primary agent of dominance and control of African peoples.
If you control the mind or the thinking of any person, you control their reality.
Religion only means to realign. Re means to go back to align yourself, because everything was God.
Spirituality is I'm embracing the universe. It's based upon knowledge, wisdom.
Western religions is an Western interpretation of an African theology and cosmology that has existed for thousands of years.
We are not looking at the world through our ancestors' eyes. We are impacted by concepts of a white creator God that created all things, and particularly a male God.
The children of Africa that left out of Africa, they begin to have a struggle with the feminine and the masculine as oppositional energies, and really wanted the masculine to be primary.
It was principally men who crafted this notion of the divine in masculine terms and left out the women.
It is without doubt that the ancient cultures of the world were matriarchies, not patriarchy.
And so there were images of this Black mother and child that were regarded as the Black Madonna and Child.
They understand that their version of the Madonna and Child is simply their rendition of an archetype. And that archetype is black.
The woman was revered as a creator.
God creates. A woman creates. So maybe the true gods on this earth is women. And we as men would sit here to protect God while she creates.
Wow. And that was just the trailer. Can't wait till everybody gets a chance to see the full thing, or at least the portion we're going to be showing here today. So stick around, y'all. This is going to be great. So first, I just want to say welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us here on Building 7 YouTube channel. My name is Saray, also known as Saray the 411 on Instagram and YouTube. And as a creative media strategy person, one of the things that I love to kind of hone in on is Black excellence, Black community development, and all the things that we know that we need to be doing as a people. And what better way to just combine all of those worlds into one in a beautiful piece of art, such as the film Out of Darkness, Heavy is the Crown 2. So thank you to all the guests. If you have any questions, if you want to chime in, just keep those coming and we will address those and let you know when we could do that in our question and answer portion. But for right now, you might recognize this gentleman on screen next to me, but if you don't, his name is Amadeus Christ. He's the director of that beautiful clip you just saw, as well as some other films you might be aware of that we'll talk about today. But without further ado, I just want to go ahead and introduce you, Amadeus. Thank you for having us here.
Absolutely. I'm excited. For you guys to see the film, and all my Bay Area people, put your cities in the chat.
Yeah, let us know where y'all are watching from, because we know we have, people from all over. I'm definitely interested to see if we have any international people. It's the evening. It's going into the evening time here in the States. So if anybody actually did join from overseas, I know I invited a couple people from the UK. So thank y'all for being up late with us if you are here. But I just want to make sure that people understand your thinking and your premise behind kind of the why of this film and what you hope audiences are able to take away from it.
That's a good question. The premise is, well, the film is broken into two parts. The first part is the drama part, and the second part is the discourse. So hopefully you guys have seen volume 1. Volume 1 details the Asarian drama, deals with religion as a base concept. So this is following the heels of the first Out of Darkness. First Out of Darkness came out in 2015. What we did was kind of take you through a general timeline of events on what happened to us as a people, starting from 4000 BC, introduce you to ancient Kemet, walk you through the fact that we are indigenous to America, touched on the Moors in Spain from 711 to 1492. That's the first part of Out of Darkness, the original Out of Darkness, which is on Tubi right now, so you guys can check that out. The second part deals with European colonization, racism, white supremacy, cognitive dissonance, the illusion of inclusion, pretty much like the psychological aspect of what happened to us. So the first part is the historical, second part is the psychological, third part is the nation building, how we can get our minds back. So we got 3 chapters in that third part. One deals with hip hop, the history of our people and our history, going back to the griots, going back to the Wolof in West Africa. We got a chapter on the Illuminati, and then we got the last chapter which deals with nationhood. So you got pretty much the historical, the psychological, and then the third part is the political. Then we go into the Out of Darkness, Heavy Use of Crown Volume 1, which is the religious, the spiritual aspect. So I feel, and a lot of people feel this way also, that the spiritual component might be the most critical piece for all of this. Shout out to Tony Browder when I was right on the heels of releasing the first Out of Darkness in 2016, early 2016. I got a chance to actually go to Kemet with Tony Browder. I did the study tour with him. And we went to pretty much like all of the temples except for like 2 or 3 of the temples. But we spent about a good 2 weeks in Kemet, and me actually seeing the temples and touching it, and you know what I mean, experiencing that pilgrimage over there and seeing the majesty of what we built, and then seeing all of these stories on the wall. Because it's one thing when you're doing a documentary like the first Out of Darkness, obviously it's just mostly animations and pictures, right? Dealing with the Kemet section. So that was special in and of itself. But when I actually got to go to Kemet and actually see it with my own eyes, that's when I was like, okay, I gotta, I gotta like really, I gotta really, like, it touched me, it moved me. And I had to do, I got tons and tons and tons of footage. So I'm like, okay, now's the time where we got to really step it up. Now that I got the footage, and I'm seeing everything, and I'm seeing all of the stories actually carved on the wall, that's what inspired me to do Heavy as the Crown. But you're dealing with 4,000 years of history, so you can't just put it into an 1.5 or 2 hour film. So I actually broke it down into 2 volumes, which was inspired by, shout out to Kaba for putting me up on game on the Shabaka stone. But anybody who knows the Shabaka stone is actually divided into 2 pieces. And I was watching, I can't remember the video, but there's a guy explaining the Shabaka stone as the first part being like a play almost. So that's the drama aspect. And then the second part was the discourse, where the actual discussion of everything. So that's kind of how I formulated Heavy as the Crown Volume 1 and Volume 2. I was highly, highly inspired by this trip. The second part of the trip, when I went to Kemet the first time, was after the 2-week study tour was over. Me and Tony actually got to link up with Brother Ranoko Rashidi, and we went to Sudan for a week. And that was crazy, man. We actually stayed like in a Nubian village. The study tour in Egypt, you know, we're staying at like luxury hotels and, you know, all you can eat buffets, right? So that fit most of the people that were there, because it was like, you know, we were living in luxury for the most part. When we got to Sudan, it was a totally different story. I don't think I saw clean water for the whole time we were there. It was an experience. It's very grounding. We stayed in a Nubian village. We went to Merowe. We went to El Kuru. We went to Karima. Flew into Khartoum. Jebel Barkal. Camped out in front of we spent the night at Merowe. Driving through the deserts. I mean, going through all of these checkpoints, you know what I mean? Pulled over by security guards. They're like checking our paperwork. We had to like pay them off. It was just the craziest thing. The dude is like the drivers. We had the two coolest drivers, man. They drove us everywhere, and they were like professional cooks. Ate a lot of fruit, a lot of mango. You know, we're driving on the highway, and he just pulls off to the side of the driveway. We're just driving through the desert. You know, a lot of the sites in Nubia, people don't go to. Obviously, it's not like Egypt where it's like touristy. In Nubia and in Sudan, it's not like that at all. Like, you really got to know somebody. We had an awesome tour guide. We spent about a week there. It was my first time, obviously, Tony Browder's first time, and then I think Renoko's first time. It was like all of our first times in Sudan. But it was wonderful. So in theme with the Nile Valley civilization, I'm showing you the other piece that most people don't see. You know, we always see the Kemet part, but we don't see the Kush aspect. So all in all, to bring it home, I took all of that footage from 2016. Then I went back in 2019 because Tony Browder was a part of the ASA. He was the director of the ASA restoration project. So they're actually doing a dig over there in the west bank of Luxor in the South Asasif Mountains, restoring a temple tomb of the 25th dynasty of Karakamun. So after the study tour was over, we stayed in an apartment in the West Bank. So I really got to be with the people. You know, I'm taking the ferry back and forth across the Nile. Went to my favorite restaurant. If anybody been to Kemet or Luxor, you know that the what's that called, Africa restaurant, was eating there every day. Just going up in the hills of the South Asasif Mountains, hopping on the back of people's motorbikes, just thugging it out. So we went back in 2019. I stayed in that same apartment for about a week and was helping Tony promote the dig. And they had a big grand opening. They had a big, gala. They had a gala dinner at the Luxor Hotel. I should have pulled up that trailer. But going back the second time, I was actually able to get more footage. And, you know, it takes a long time for you to like internalize this information. You know what I mean? I had to really internalize it. So I know people has been waiting for this new volume 2 for a long time, but it takes a lot of work, man. It's like I'm saying, it's over 4,000 years of history you're trying to condense into a 4-hour film, you know, 2 hours on each part. So yeah, volume 1, Asarian drama. We introduce you to the concept of the Netchers, what the Netchers are. They're not gods. They're not beings that the ancient Egyptians worship. They actually were aspects. They represent aspects. They were like avatars, as Kaba would say. So now we get into the second part, and I'm excited.
All right. Well, and thank you for kind of naming the breadth of all of this, because we are talking about 4,000 plus years of history, and for you to have really encapsulated into these series of films that internalization process, that travel, that hands-on learning process with some of the foremost scholars in our community, trusted names, that is really a great work and a great service that you have provided in this really beautiful, aesthetically beautiful way, and just woven it all together in a way that is undeniable to really embrace what you're hearing. Because a lot of times we battle between what the world says is true and what we know is true about ourselves and about our history. And what I love about this films is it removes the cognitive dissonance, because you have on site, on location, interviews from these people who are there, who are doing the study, who are doing the work, all compiled, and one after another, what they're saying is lining up, even though they're not in the same room. So that's something that I really love about it. But speaking of those people, the other contributors that have been involved with the film, we have one of them here in the room with us today, don't we? Yeah.
Absolutely, waiting patiently
Yeah.
backstage
Waiting
to be
patiently.
brought up.
Yeah. And
We got two special
before we
guests.
bring him on, before we bring them on, I do want to give some love to the chat. So earlier you said let people know where they're watching in from. So we have some people, kind of let us know. So we got Frisco, Texas in the building. Thank you. Memphis, Columbus, Ohio, Germany. Thank you, Germany. Atlanta, San Francisco, Tupelo, Mississippi. All right, I'm from Alabama, so shout out to the dirty, dirty South. We got Lagos, Nigeria in here, y'all. The motherland is here checking in. Brother Boone from Philly, what's up? London is here, okay. Florida, Milwaukee, South Carolina. Wow, Chicago. Everybody's here. We got the whole squad in here.
Coast to coast.
Yes.
We got Kaba from the Bronx. We got Zaza Ali from my hometown. Well, I claim Oakland and San Francisco. So yeah, we get into that later. But we got Zaza Ali from Oakland.
Grown Gangster also from San Fran. Okay, thank y'all for tapping into the chat. But go ahead.
And I got my Detroit peoples, my team members backstage too. Toby Tantil and Gifted C. Johnson. Shout out to Gifted C. Johnson, man. He really helped me with the music part. Yeah, I don't consider myself to be a musician. He does. He went to the Julia School of Arts, if I'm not mistaken. Brother's incredibly talented, incredibly gifted, hence the name Gifted C. Johnson. But he helped me. He helped me score some of the most the piano parts that just super soulful and sultry, man. And I just want to give a shout out to him. We'll bring him up on stage during the Q&A.
Mm-hmm. And they're gonna want to know. They're gonna have questions like I did, because once you actually hear it, and when you're watching the film, you're not thinking about the score. But once I realized this beautiful score that I'm hearing has been made, like handmade, hand produced by these brothers, I had to watch it again just to listen back to the music. And I was telling Gifted, like, I need the soundtrack on Spotify, because it's low key fire.
We working on it. We working on it.
Make sure y'all listen out for that.
Yeah. For those that don't know, I do have a musical background. Actually, I was a quote unquote rapper / producer prior to becoming a filmmaker. So all the music that you hear in the film is original music. It's none of the music is AI generated. It's all original music. Shout out to Gifted again. So what makes the film special with the music, most documentaries that you see, it has music in it, but the music is just like background music. And it's not, it accents the documentary. But with these documentaries, I actually edited to the music. So it's like it has a pulse, you know what I mean? It's specially handcrafted. Let's put it like that. It's a tailor-made documentary. I really wanted the music to be an important part because the music pulls you in, and the music tells its own story as you're watching the documentary. Makes sense.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
So in just a moment, we are going to play a portion of the film. Now, y'all, this brother is a filmmaker. You talking about somebody that has a degree in filmmaking. So this is a whole film, and it's very well put together, and it's over 2 hours of valuable information. And I know we sharing a lot of love and everything in the chat, but 2 hours is a very long time to ask of anyone on a Sunday night. So we do want to make sure that we show the like, I would call it like the headlining chapter of the film, which deals with the divine feminine. So we are going to show that, but we do want to make sure that that you can watch the film. Today is the 9th. It will release officially on platforms on the 11th. And if you did purchase a ticket here today to support Building 7 and Brother Amadeus, we will be contacting you for how you could get access to the film in exchange for your support. So thank you guys for that. But without further ado, let's get ready to watch that portion. But first we want to introduce, who's in the house as far as other panelists. So who we got up first?
Let's bring to the stage Miss Zaza Ali. Here we go.
Hey sis, how you doing? Mic check.
I think your mic is muted, Zaza. There we go.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. We can see you and we can hear you. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, sis. How are you?
I'm doing well.
You sent me a text. You sent me a text. I've been in the back room for 30 minutes now listening to you guys.
Oh, okay. I was like, let me know when you get here.
Yeah, I literally just saw it when you guys brought me on stage. So pardon me for that.
Oh, it's all right. As long as you made it, that is all that matters.
Yeah. How you doing, King? I'm happy to be here, and I'm so proud of you for your consistency and for raising a vibration and doing it through film. I'm very grateful to be here with you guys. You have some of my biggest influences in terms of teachers in this film and in your first one. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm honored to share the stage with you and Miss the Queen as well. Thank you for inviting me, sis.
Thank you. Much appreciated. So we understand you have a new project out.
I do. I have my most recently released textbook, which is right in alignment with, what you're going to be talking about in the film, Ancient People, a Social Studies and History textbook. And you talked about Kush, which I have a section, the Kandakis of Ethiopia and Kush. And it was important for me to highlight Kush as the parent and mother civilization of Egypt, or Kemet, which a lot of people don't even know. I studied under Professor Manu Ampem when I got my African Studies degree in Oakland. And so he was an archaeological. He always talked about going back and doing the on the ground research. He was so adamant about that. And so through his research and him being on the ground, it really showed me not only the importance of the checks and balances of history, right, and doing the research, but like actually being on the ground. And, because the geologists say one thing, right? The archaeologists say one thing, right? The quote unquote Egyptologists who are in control of our artifacts and how what's being shown in these museums, and how all of these things are being presented to the world. They're saying one thing, but the bones and the images in the pyramids and the reflections of these ancient kings and queens say something totally different, right? So like Tasseti, the land of the bow, where you have all of these images of these African warriors who were very highly skilled with using the bow and arrow. How many of us, our culture, our people actually really even know that and understand that history? So there's 2 chapters, the Moors in Spain and Africans in Asia, where I focus heavily on the warrior spirit, right? The African male, indigenous, ancient, Asiatic, whatever, particular language you're comfortable with. But these are very dark-skinned, heavily melanated men who represented the warrior spirit and the warrior energy. And then I have 3 chapters on queens, the same concept, African melanated indigenous women from around the world, dark-skinned, who represented a higher level of womanhood, of consciousness, of focus, of intention. All of those things were very important for me. So 3 chapters on women in particular, because I am a woman and because I understand that the timeline we're in right now, there is a very specific war being infringed on our women, because they understand that we are the key to unlocking the codes and the power and potential, not only of women, but of all of our people. And to be honest, the world, right? And then I have the 2 chapters that are specifically focused on men and manhood, but the warrior energy and spirit in particular. So me being from Oakland, me being in LA right now, I have seen the warrior energy in our men be intentionally perverted and limited through crack cocaine, through hybrid and genetically modified weed, right? Through liquor and alcohol, through cigarettes, right? That's why I wrote my first book, The Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs, because I was looking at Oakland and trying to figure out how we went from a burgeoning, predominantly Black culture and civilization to I'm seeing brothers and sisters on the corners nodding and barely able to stand up. And so I was studying all these things at a very young age. So to go back to the point about the king energy, here in LA, we got the Bloods and the Crips, right? We've got in Oakland, we had turf wars and gangs that were focused on, blocks, and it was more so focused on money. You look at Brooklyn, you look at Miami, you look at Dallas, all of the main cities across this country, that warrior energy is being harnessed and being limited and being capped, right? And being focused in a specific direction, so that our men have become enemies in our communities and to our culture, just in terms of the gang element, and Chicago, being a prime example of that. And so for me, I've been slowly but surely, methodically studying us, of course, right? Because we are the reflection of the source, but then I've been studying them too. How did you go from being the smallest demographic in the world and end up taking control and owning and controlling the natural resources in our homelands, right? And you're the minimum in terms of the population, right? So I've just been really trying to understand how we got from there to here. And now here I am in 2025, looking back, going back 150,000 years, right? Because Hatshepsut, for me, which is chapter 5, the 18th dynasty and Pharaoh Hatshepsut, when I found out about Pharaoh Hatshepsut, I was like, oh, that's it. We looking for women and idols to sort of model ourselves after, right? Because women are an ecosystem, just like men are an ecosystem, right? So when we say it takes a village, yes, it's important to have those foundational pieces around us, which many, if not most of us, don't have. I didn't have it, right? So I was keen. I'm looking around at the sisters around me like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm definitely not doing that, right? Even women in my family and just, crack cocaine and the impact. So when I found out about Pharaoh Hatshepsut, right? When I found out about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, when I found out and studied the works of Mother Tynetta Muhammad, when I found out about Queen T and Amana Shaketo and Amina Reynes, and it was like, oh, okay, I can rock with this, right? And so these great historical legends and icons were unlocking things in my mind, were unlocking my potential, were unlocking where I could potentially go. And so at like 18, 19, when most of my friends were turning up, I was in the history books. I was into Cheikh Anta Diop. I was into Ivan Van Sertima. I was reading all of these books because it was unlocking and a safe haven for me, even growing up in Oakland at a time when the crack epidemic was at an all-time high. It was a safe haven for me to go into my mind and to acknowledge something different, something better, something that resonated with the truth that was in me. So all of those people I've referenced, even in Africans in Asia, most people don't know that the samurai were actually modeled after a man named Sakanuye no Tamuramaro. This is a dark-skinned Black man whose family were said to have migrated from Korea. He came from a family of mercenaries where governments who were having issues and that their armies couldn't, sort of quash, they would hire these mercenaries to come in and take care of all of the issues. So 400 years before the actual samurai became a thing, Sakanuye and his family of mercenaries, these men, went to Japan and they hired them to basically take down the Ainu, who were also very short-statured, dark-skinned people, right? The Ainu or the Emishi, they have different names. And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, wait, he did what? Not only was he a warrior and a big brother, right? But he was also kind and gentle and very prominent in civil affairs, right? People would go to him for advice. So you've got this balance of the masculine and feminine energy in a very strong way representing itself. And his legacy was so powerful that 400 years later, he was the first Taseti. But 400 years later, when they did, create what was later called the samurai, it was all modeled after him. So you talk about leaving a legacy, right? Leaving an imprint. These are the figures that I'm looking at, and I'm praising them and I'm respecting them, but I'm also like, man, they worshipped Hatshepsut for 300 plus years after she transitioned. Not worship like she's my God, but like, look at what she did. Look at how she was loved, what she created, what she embodied. That's the frequency, right? Sakanuye no Tamuramaro, for 400 years after his lifeline, the warriors and the soldiers and those who were acclimated to being warriors went to his gravesite and worshiped there, his energy, his spirit, the essence of his being, because they wanted to embody that. So in 2025, here you are creating films and creating content and creating conversations that are releasing the cap from our minds. So 100 years from now, 200 years from now, 300 years from now, when people are locked into a digital realm of consciousness, we will have the essence of your work and your energy to be able to draw back on, to bring us back to the center and make it all make sense again. So that's the end of my TED Talk. I talk a lot. I have a lot to say, but I hope I answered the question, if there was a question.
That was beautiful. We're gonna we got a dedicated part of the program for the Q&A. So
okay.
Zaza, I'm going to bring up Kaba and remove you temporarily,
okay,
and then we'll go.
I love you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here on the panel with him as well.
Much appreciated.
Yes.
All right. You want to introduce the next guest, Ray?
Yes, sir.
He should need no introduction, but
he should need no. He doesn't need one. If you are familiar with the brother formerly known as Booker T. Washington, but now officially known as Booker T. Coleman. That's right, and now officially known as Brother Kaba Khamenei. Wonderful author, speaker, educator, and just an all-around beautiful brother. So can't wait for the people to hear from him.
Kaba is one of I got 3 Jedi masters. Tony Browder, Professor James Small, and Kaba Hiawatha Khamenei. that's my holy trinity.
That's a good one.
They've been advising me through my whole growth process. Unlike Zaza, I came into this information very late, just about 10 years ago. I kind of woke up, but Kaba has been one of the key people that's been guiding me through this process and been coaching me, and really encouraging me. And he tells me to own my greatness. So let's bring him to the stage, Brother Kaba.
And my brother Amadeus, and to my sister Saray, I want to thank you for this opportunity of inviting me to be a part of this program. As you know, I've been part of a process for a while. And Brother Amadeus, as you were talking about the evolution and the history of what you were doing, I go back to somewhere around 2015 with you. Could even have been 2014 when we started planning to make this happen. And at this time, I had not published any books yet. I was on the cusp, but it seems that your evolution as it relates to your filmmaking, as we know it today, from Outer Darkness, Heavy is the Crown 1, Heavy is the Crown 2, it also reflected my development. Because like you said, Shabaka Stone was the book I wanted to write. And when I heard our sister Zaza Ali speak about the role that women have played, even in my own life, it was my mother who gave me a Xerox copy of a book that was out of print. It would come into print that same year, 1976, but I got it before it came out. And it was called Stolen Legacy by Dr. George G.M. James. And I had been introduced to a chapter 8 from page 139 to 151. And I was always very interested in astronomy. I wanted to be an astronaut. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to get up off this earth and find my ancestors in the heavens. And so I was very interested in astronomy. And so when I read this chapter on the Memphite theology, I had never heard anything like this before. This just took me to disconnected neurons that up to that date had never been connected before. And I said, I have to write a book on this one day. And so when I remember you and I were speaking about Heavy is the Crown, and I remember you were telling me things and it sounded just like Shabaka Stone. And I said, well, brother, this book, Shabaka Stone, reflects a lot of what you're talking about. And I remember that I immediately sent you information before it was published. I sent you information just to, show you where my research was leading me as it related to the Shabaka Stone. And before I could write Shabaka Stone, though, I had to get the community ready for what Shabaka Stone was going to tell them, because our greatness, when I say own your greatness, I'm talking about all of us. Make me no difference where you are in the station of life. If you are a melanated person living in 2025, you're a miracle. When I heard our sister Zaza Ali speak about the crack epidemic, here I am in New York. I'm in the Bronx. Okay. I moved through the rap era. I was there. I was a disc jockey during the rap era. And I know that we have such a power as a people. Melanin is a conductor of solar power. And we just don't realize that power. We have been dimmed. Our light has been dimmed by this. And there are others who have taken and understand. And I always send people to Richard Pryor when he had that television program back in 1977, where he's in a temple in Kemet, and he's carrying the bags for all the other archaeologists. And he comes in, he carries the bag, he sits down, and he starts looking at the books. You know, the writings of the people that wrote the original Kemites, the original Egyptians. And he starts talking about, wait a minute now. This is a black man here. Okay, this black people did this. And all of the European archaeologists, they're talking amongst themselves, but then all of a sudden they start hearing his voice. And he begins to talk about, hey, listen, we did this. Black people did this. We the ancient Egyptians. And all of a sudden you see the European archaeologists slowly backing out of the temple. Slowly backing out. And Richard is still there talking about everything he's reading. And then all of a sudden they leave the door and they shut it. But the most dramatic part of it, and I know, you can appreciate this, my brother Amadeus. The moment they shut the door to that temple, the light goes out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they burned our books. That's why they stole our books. And that's why in 2025, they are banning our books. Because they know that if you get this information into our young people, if our young people understand who they truly are, if they understand their DNA that they carry from the masters of the cosmic universe, the masterpiece of this earth, you won't have to tell them what to do. They'll know what to do. And Brother Amadeus, I've told you this privately, and I'm going to tell you this again. You have created for us a template for liberation and emancipation. Because the images that our community will see and have seen in Hidden Color, in Heavy as the Crown, and then Heavy as the Crown 2, the images that you've created. See, you being a graphic designer is different from just a filmmaker, because you have created images that have never existed before. And that becomes important because we are a visual people. That is meduneter, or what's called hieroglyphics. Those are images that connect to the neurons in our brain. We are a visual people. We are a sensual people. Our senses, what we hear, what we see. And so as you play this piece today, the community is going to see things that have never existed before. And I compliment you on this, brother, your tenacity, because I remember when you told me you had to cut Heavy as the Crown into 2.
Yes.
Because it's too much. It's too much to absorb. The neurons will short circuit in the brain. Because as a black person, we have been believed, even those that have been studying this, even those that have a lot, myself included, let me get first online. Your stuff blew my mind. Let me tell you something else. Because like I told you, the way in which when you shared Heavy as the Crown, well, when you shared all of them with me, but this particular one, I told you I always break it up into pieces. Just like when you're listening to a symphony, you try to separate the horns from the drums, from the percussions, from the chordophones, the guitars, the bass. Well, that's what I do when I'm watching things. I take things apart. I listen to only the words of what's being said. Then I listen to the visuals. And then, Brother Gifted, see that music. That music itself could win a Grammy. Your film.
Thank you.
Your film could win an Asar. They call it Oscar, but if you take the C from Oscar, it becomes Asar. And if you look at the statue, it looks like Asar. In fact, it looks like Asar Patah. So that's where they get that from. But I just congratulate you on this, brother. And again, Spirituality Before Religions was a piece I wanted to write. And when you talk about melanated people, carbon before melanin. But then there's something that you also did, brother. You also went to Spain and to Morocco. And you did research on the Moors. Remember, you and I were talking, and again, just like you were talking about Heavy is the Crown One, and I was talking about Shabaka stone, when you was talking to me about going to the Alhambra and going to Cordoba and going to various places, I was saying, well, brother, I'm doing a book on the Moors. Remember in Atlanta, we sat and we did an interview in Atlanta.
Absolutely.
And we talked about the Moors and who were the Moors before the Moors. This is my latest publication. I just published this last month. Family, I'm just so excited to be here. I am honored and privileged to share this time with my sister Zaza Ali, whom I've admired for a very long time. Her intelligence, her ability to be able to convey ideas, as you've just noticed, she was able. I saw a comment here that said that he could listen to her all day long. In fact, he said she could read the phone book and he'd be listening. Her voice. It's not just what you say, it's the flavor. As a Black folk, we got flavor. We just don't do something, we do something a certain way. And if you want to know what the real cornerstone to our challenge is, it is that our women, our Black women, have not been respected for who they actually are and what they've contributed. And if you don't believe me, read a book called The Sibyls. Every sister should read this book, Mama Wata. Get this book. Every brother should read this book.
There you go. There you go.
This was given to me by a sister from Texas. And she said, have you ever heard this? Because I talk about Nebetet, who's part of the Asarian drama. Nebetet is the oracle reader. It is the sister who is grounded to the earth that has direct communications with the divine. And it is the male energy that then is able to interpret the oracle that our sisters are giving us. Now, I'm proud to be a man, but I know the role of our sisters. And until that sister sits on the throne, that's why Aset is a throne. That is the Madonna and Child. That's not just a child and his mother who is, as Hatshepsut did, nurtured the children. That really is symbolic that the male energy sits on the lap of the mother energy and has the right to rule, but it is the feminine energy that knows who the males are that should rule. It makes a lot of sense, because who better to know who rules than the hand that rocked the cradle? Who better to know who should be the leader of the community than the woman that carried that child for 10 months in her womb? Our sisters are our first library. And it's important that we as brothers understand this. Take our rightful place. Because we've done some great things. But when we don't respect our sisters, when we don't understand their power, when we get caught up in this Western technology and this idea of male supremacy, you will fall. And in many ways we have. But we're all born with a Judas and a Messiah. We are all born with Satan and Asar. But it's Heru that is the resurrection of Asar, his father. And the reality of it is that Judas is that person in you that's telling you what you can't do. He's the betrayer of your human nature. And it is Asar that tells you what you can do. But then Satan is, and Judas is jealous of the Messiah, so they murder him. But before he goes into the underground, Heru is born, the resurrection. And what's important to understand is that this is who we are. Judas may fall 9 times, but your Messiah will rise 10. Always let your Messiah be who you are. And the Son of God is spelled S-U-N. And I'm just going to end here. Because then you go to the Bible. Because I tell people, don't throw that Bible out. That's some serious stuff. In fact, most of the Bible you can find on the pyramid text walls. John 3rd chapter, 16th verse. God so loved the earth, so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son. And those who believe in him, her, will live for eternity. That Son is spelled S-U-N. They don't know how to spell. They made it S-O-N and made it a male and don't realize that you are resurrected through the feminine energy. So family, I'm looking forward to this experience. My brother Amadeus, I thank you. My sister Saray, I thank you for what you do. To my brother Toby and to his family and to Gifted C, I send my regards. And Sister Zaza, I'm very proud to be with you today. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get it on.
That was beautiful. That was actually perfect. And as we go into this portion of the film, I want to give the audience an assignment. As you listen, I want you to combine what you're seeing in the imagery, in the music, and in the message with what Brother Kaba has just stated about, because this portion is about the divine feminine, just straight and clear. And there is an attack right now on the Black family system. And that is not by happenstance. That is a very calculated, cold calculated move. And I think, to me, what has been most beautiful about the experience of this film is that it kind of gives you a framework to go beyond that, to go beyond the beef, if you will, beyond our individual hurts and pains that we have experienced at the hands of one another, because there's something greater there. And if we're going to help heal ourselves and one another through our love for one another, it does have to be grounded in the history and understanding of who you are. So to all my people, as you're watching, think about that. Think about what is getting in your spirit as it surrounds how we can use this knowledge to heal and restore our relationships in our community, and how you can share that, as you share your reviews and as you share, the film and the trailer with people on your social media. Make sure to make sure that they peep that too. So check it out and see what you think. And I'm gonna hand it over to you.
All right, Kaba, we're going to bring you back up for the Q&A. Man, this is just the intro, you guys. This is just the intro. You guys already got all of these nuggets and jewels dropped on you.
Right.
Kaba, we'll see you in a few.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, also, as you are watching, please feel free to drop any questions in the chat. I'm trying to save them so that we can come back to them during the Q&A section directly following this clip of the film.
One thing I wanted to say, I'm so glad that Kaba made that segue. One thing I didn't say as I was talking about Heavy is the Crown is that Heavy is the Crown has a mother, and that mother is Dr. Sharshi McIntyre. Now, she had already gone to the ancestors long before I crafted this piece of work, but I happened to see one of her lectures on YouTube, and it really spoke to me. This was when I first had was in the process of conceptualizing Heavy is the Crown. And her words helped me craft this particular volume, but overall it helped me craft the entire film. So I want to give a shout out to Dr. Sharshi McIntyre as the mother. The part of the film you guys are about to see, I wish I could show you guys the whole film, but we decided to global distribution deal. So we're going to be able to show you 2 chapters of the film, which I feel like are the most pertinent chapters. The first chapter, they play back to back. The first chapter is the divine, is the feminine principle. And then the second chapter we're going to show you guys is the Madonna and Child. So it's about 30 minutes. I hope you guys are ready. After this section of the film is over, we'll open it up for Q&A. I got a special surprise for you guys afterwards, but we'll bring Kaba and Zaza back on stage, and we might even have a special guest for you guys as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the film, and here we go.
When you, myself, or anyone who's sincere does any research into Asiatic African culture, it is without doubt that the ancient cultures of the world were matriarchies, not patriarchies.
All universities, they say universities like the colleges, come from the womb of the woman. That is where everything came from. But what happened was actually it was a matriarch society.
You had the women ruling before men. As the domains got larger and you needed greater protection, then the man ruled on behalf of the woman.
It is the feminine principle that anoints the male leader. It may always be a male on the throne, but the throne herself is a feminine principle.
And so this becomes extremely important that we understand this concept here. So now, the heart is the seat. That's why you see the heart on the scale of Ma'at. All of these principles are based upon the woman energy. Ancient Kemet was a matrilineal system. The king, the lineage of the king was based upon his mother.
The great Senegalese multi-scholar, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, he was able to demonstrate through his scientific research that our culture and our ways were traced through the mother. Even the divine kingship of ancient Kemet was traced not through the father, but through the mother.
Where the line of inheritance, the line of the dynastic systems of family rule come through the feminine line. For instance, if my sister had a son and I have a son, if I were sitting on the throne, something happened to me, my son does not become the next Neset Beti. My sister's son becomes the next Neset Beti.
Cheikh Anta Diop deals with this concept of matrifocal. And what they were saying is that we trace the lineage of all things from the feminine because that's establishable. You can prove that, you can show that.
Most traditional African concepts are based upon that. We have some Western now because we've been influenced by other people, but most of traditional African and a lot of the indigenous people, but in the West, they have a patrilineal system. So the Asiatics and the Europeans come from a patrilineal. We come from a matrilineal system. where everything is passed down through the mother.
The cosmic universe understands that the feminine principle dominates the cosmos. Because it is in the woman, specifically, that keeps the civilization moving forward through growth and life.
The feminine energy in Kemet. The Ankh is the center focus in ancient Kemet. That's the key of life. So it shows you we understood life is eternal. Life cannot be destroyed. Life was energy. Energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed from one state to another. This was a science.
That's the proof of its origin. Therefore, all secret societies, all nations, all flags, and even the rules of nations and the rules of nature is called Mother Nature, Motherland, Mother Flag, and so you can even see in the nature of culture the matriarchal principle.
That's the science of the matrix. Matrix means womb of the woman. So it all still extends from your ancestors. All civilization come from woman, not a man.
In our traditional cultures, the woman was seen as divine. And this wasn't just in the way that we worshiped or in the way we did rituals or the way we practiced our culture. It was an everyday part of life.
And they made her the mother god, not just the mother of God, but the mother god that brought forward all things. And out of this, you have the story of Het-Heru, or Hathor, who has a phenomenal role in the development of the cosmic and earthly existence.
The woman represents the earth itself. It represents the bounties of the earth. It represents the embodiment of giving life. It represents fertility. It represents sustenance. It represents nurturing. That is the earth. And in most African countries, there's a name for earth. Like in Ghana, they says Mother Earth, Asasiya. You're talking about the mother. She gives all the nutrients and the nurturing to everything else that lives.
So even when you see the Moors wearing the fez on their heads, the fez represents the womb of the woman. And every man has a navel that is connected to a woman.
Every man or every male has a belly button. A belly button is a common term used for the navel.
So the fez is the womb, the umbilical cord, the placenta. It represents the universe. That's woman.
Woman is the nurturing energy. For example, even the word Kemet ends with the T. It's the feminine energy, because nations were looked upon feminine. It grew. It gave birth. It nurtured. If it's a real nation, okay? It nurtures its people. You're expanding, you're growing, you're giving birth, and you're protecting. And nobody protects like the mother, you know?
In our culture, even in Ethiopia, it was always the woman that sat at the head. Everything came from the woman. That's actually, and a lot of people don't understand, that's actually an African tradition. All nations come from the woman.
And the study of the nature of the living beings on the planet Earth, etc., including man's coming into being in what is called nativity, or nationality. Natio means to be born or to come into being.
So the feminine energy is the centerpiece in ancient Kemet. In fact, I'd say this, the feminine energy might have been more organized than the male energy. We know all the things that the male priest had to go through. We don't know all the things that the females did.
She is the one that brought forward the human family. So it would make sense that the creator within the African woman would ensure that physically, physiologically, she would have everything needed to be able to sustain and nurture the development of the human family.
God creates. A woman creates. So maybe the true gods on this earth is women, and we as men would sit here to protect God while she creates.
The woman was revered as a creator. The woman is able to give birth, bring life into this world.
And in this celestial life system, our sisters now, here's where it's interesting. Sisters created math and science because it was sisters that began to realize, not men, but sisters, women began to realize that they had to prepare for their life cycle. There was something internal, there was something natural that demanded of our sisters to begin to develop something.
They noticed that the moon would go through certain phases every 28 days or so.
They saw that the moon would go through a metamorphosis.
They began to count in order to prepare for their life cycle. They recognized that their life cycle went through a 28, 29, 30-day cycle. They look up into the heavens and they realize that there is a celestial body that also goes through a 28, 29, 30-day cycle. That's the lunar cycle.
The moon goes through this metamorphosis every 29 days. The sun positions itself and moves across the heavens and returns to a position every 365 and a quarter days.
So they began to see quarters of things. And so out of this, our sisters, after counting and developing a very sophisticated level of mathematics that's going to relate back to agriculture. So they began to multiply and divide.
They also understood by studying the moon and the sun how to keep track of time.
So we always elevated and celebrated the African woman. This is something very different than what we tend to typically experience in the Western world and in Western religious expressions and in Eurocentric culture.
And so that's one of the major differences that we find when it comes to African spirituality and European religion, that the role of the concept of the woman has completely been diminished.
Children of Africa that left out of Africa and variegated as living plants do and became Europeans. They begin to have a struggle with the feminine and the masculine as oppositional energies. and really wanted the masculine to be primary.
It was principally men who crafted this notion of the divine in masculine terms and left out the women.
And so as Europeans dominated, they felt that it was important for them to maintain their dominance and power, and the only way that they could do that was to remove the role of the woman in spirituality, in society, and in our culture, in order to ensure that they could be looked upon as God forces, or spiritual beings who were closer to the Creator.
But when you have been separated from the best of your culture, when you have been acculturated into someone else's culture of oppression, then you tend to forget who you are, where you came from, and what your own people held as sacred.
We are not looking at the world through our ancestors' eyes. We are impacted by white supremacy and by concepts of a white creator God that created all things, and particularly a male God, which is opposite to the way in which the African traditions think. In order to have a male God, you must have a female God.
But we know that by suppressing that feminine energy, all it did was bring about more chaos. It brought about Isfet. Completely throwing every aspect of society and culture out of balance, throwing a sense of spirituality out of balance.
Africa never had that problem. We really saw, again, there's a naturally, divinely governed universe that is spirit energy, and that energy has certain activity.
Each aspect of the Creator had its masculine and feminine counterparts.
Every nature had its masculine and feminine counterpart, and they balanced each other out.
When we anthropomorphize those and put those in like the image of a man or the image of a woman, we lose an understanding of what it was really about. It really is about the primary complementarity of feminine and masculine energy to produce life. You can't have one without the other.
Africa has always been based on the balance, the duality, the unity and duality.
Matriarchal gives the image of force, of power, of control, of domination. In Africa, it was balance. No one gender had control over anything. It was them in balance that made the system work, made the civilization grow, in Ma'at, in balance.
So ancient Kemet and Kosh was based upon that. In fact, in ancient Kosh, you had as many or more female leaders than you had male leaders. Because leadership is not based upon your gender. Leadership is based upon your information and your ability to disseminate that information and make it holistic in Ma'at.
We don't know, like, to me, to even say that God is a male, female. I always say he, she, or it, because we really don't know. And for me, you know, once I have a daughter or whoever I teach, from the feminine aspect, for me to even say that God is a man, to me is oppressive.
But what we honor is the energy and the spirit of our primary complementarity. That I'm incarnated as this male, but my maleness goes nowhere until I find my complement as the feminine, which is my wife, the mother of my children. And then we become that holy trinity that produces the new.
So our sisters developed and handed it down from mother to daughter for generations, for thousands of years, this knowledge and wisdom, which is going to be based in spirituality. And that is why you have the Madonna and Child.
I've seen pictures of the popes in the Vatican. The last 5 popes, actually, you can actually go online and find them paying devotion and worshiping various Black Madonnas. You can go in much of the churches of Eastern Europe, Russia, Ukraine, and those areas, Poland, Czechoslovakia. And the primary Madonnas are Black.
They actually had no problems worshiping or honoring Black figures. We can find in many parts in Southern Europe, in France, in Spain, and Italy, where the Black Madonna and Child, which is a set in Heru. They worshiped them knowing that they were Black.
And so there were images of this Black mother and child that were regarded by the early Christians and Greeks as the Black Madonna and Child.
You can go into Ethiopia and you could see the origins of this Madonna and Child. And it is, as we said earlier, it goes back to metaphor. It goes back to ideas of analogy and the myth that the mother of God and God who sits on the lap, that is why Aset is a throne.
You will see symbols of Aset and Horus, or what they'll say Horus is Horus, which means the sun. So Aset represents the feminine principle and the mother principle, and Horus represents the sun. S-U-N and S-O-N.
So you see the king suckling the breasts of the mother, which later the Europeans will use that as the Black Madonna. And then the black will all of a sudden turn to white.
Because they understand, at least at that level, that their version of the Madonna and Child, which begins to appear in pictures in the 15th century, is simply their rendition of an archetype. And that archetype is Black. A Black woman and a Black child, with a Black father God represented by Osiris. And that those three come together to cause creation to keep repeating itself. The initial creation with Atum and Nun and Ptah will constantly be recreated by Asar, Aset, and Heru. And Asar and Aset and Heru is the symbolic archetype for the human family.
The model of Heru and his mother Aset became the model for all human beings. So images of Aset and Heru were carved all throughout Kemet. Every king saw himself as the personification of Heru, the rebirth of Heru.
They would make symbols of or set in the physical form, symbolize it, whether painted or in wooden carvings, etc., or statues or stone, and Horus sitting on her knee.
And that is why the Christ child sits on her lap as the Neset Biti, or the ruler, sits on the throne.
And from that ancient symbolism of the feminine or the mother and son principle, the Constantinians imitate that ancient imagery with statues and wood carvings and paintings called Mary and Jesus. That's where it has its origin.
There's no real ancient mother figures in the European world. If you look at that Venus figure, that's a black woman. So even ancient white folks, their godly mother material is a black woman.
They have to have that Black Madonna there to worship the sister. So they have to have that sister there because you have to honor your mothers and your fathers, and all of them come from your ancestors. So this is why you will see the Pope bowing down, you know, worshiping the woman. The world worships the woman because they understand where it comes from.
All children is symbolic of Heru, or what in the Western tradition is called Jesus. All mother is a holy mother and symbolic of the mother Aset and what the West would call Mary. And so the popes and them, who are supposed to be the most learned among the theologians in the Western world, they're not lost on this truth. And that's why you'll see them paying devotion to the Black Madonna and Child, because that's the archetype out of which everything else proceeds in their tradition.
So that's why even on the slave plantation, they said you were 3/5 of a human, but they wanted you to suckle their babies and raise their kids. I mean, their actions was a contradiction of what they were saying. They understood who you were, but they made sure you didn't understand who you were.
The reason Europeans transform the image of the Black Madonna and Child into a white Madonna and white child is very normal. It was appropriate, and there's nothing wrong with it at all, because everyone should see God in their image and see themselves in the image of God. And since no one can visually see God, then when we make mistakes, when we say we're in God's image, no. Everyone that have any symbol of God, they have constructed God in their image. And that's what we did with the Black Madonna and Child. We constructed God in our image. So whites constructed their God in their image. The problem with what occurs here is when they force their construction of their anthropomorphic image of God on us.
Now here we are looking at what it is. We're looking at the Black Madonna, and in many ways, even we can't come to grips with it. So in our churches, we will put white images up. Knowing what the original images are throughout the world.
As being the only image of God, and that we now begin to worship the image of another culture, another paradigm, another reality. And in most instances, that culture and that reality is directly opposed to our values, our interests, and our principles. And so whites having white gods is very appropriate. Blacks having white gods is detrimental.
Many of the Christian leaders sought to destroy the temples by carving out images of Asar, Aset, and Heru. They recognized that there was power here.
And so you have the image of mother and son. And so when it comes to the study of the human family and its evolution on the planet Earth and the experiences of the generations for millennia, the preserved study is called mother and son study, thus Masonry.
If you know the narrative, you can trace the origin of Mary and Jesus to the Black Madonna and Child, to Aset and Heru. It's the same narrative.
And again, there's nothing wrong with this. What is wrong is people rejecting the notion that this all had its genesis with African people, and then changing the symbols so that it looks like the other ethnic group and displaying it in the other ethnic group cultural expression while denying the African genesis of all of this.
Woo! What you guys think? Man, y'all got the comment section lit.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, I got the comment
that was just
section
30
lit.
minutes. That was just 30 minutes, and that was just so jam-packed with information. So now y'all see what I was talking about. It literally took me, I think a week to really get through the whole film and process it. So, I can't wait to hear people's reactions and to get a chance to get to some of the questions that people may have. But, brother, you did your thing. That was beautiful.
So that's the divine feminine principle, Black Madonna chapter.
Mm-hmm.
What you just saw is 30 minutes of the film. The film in its entirety is 2 hours and 14 minutes. So obviously there's a lot more information. The first 3 chapters of the film are dynamic. We go into the creation story with Nun, Ptah, Atum. We go into the conquest of Kemet from the Greeks and the Romans. We got a whole chapter on the restoration. We got a special guest in there. I mean, it's dynamic. Wish I could show you guys the whole film, but like somebody said in the comment section, this is a lot. It's a lot to digest. It's very dense. Like Sister Saray just said, she had to spend about a week digesting the film. With the original Out of Darkness and Heavy is the Crown, people that talk to me about it say, every time I watch those films, man, I pick up something new. Every time I watch it, I pick up something new. So
Yes.
it's a living, breathing historical document. Every time you watch it, you're going to see something new. You're going to hear something new. You're going to pick up on something new.
Yeah.
So
shout out to the chat is lighting up. Shout out to Brother Donald. He said that it lights a fire in you. I totally agree. Thank you, Motherland. She said she is, or he or she, I don't know, it could be anyone. Motherland's realist said I already pre-ordered mine. I saw a couple comments come through saying that. So thank you.
Shout out to the pre-orders. We'll be shipping in a few days. We'll be shipping next week.
Friday for the
DVDs.
pre-order. Thank you.
DVDs are available. Outofdarknessfilm.com. Outofdarknessfilm.com.
Yes.
Also, can I share it with them right quick, Saray?
Oh, yeah. Might as well.
I'm gonna share with you guys. Let me bring it up on the screen.
Someone's asking when the film officially drops November 11th. November 11th. So be sure to check it out.
I'm gonna share it with you guys. The photo book. We have, I know a lot of the images, you guys can see this, okay, Saray?
Yeah.
I know a lot of the images come really fast, but I prepared a nice companion for the film. This will come out in 2 volumes, maybe even 2 more. This is the photo book that you need to cop. We're working on the physical, but for now, you guys can get the ebook at outofdarknessfilm.com. I'm just going to take you guys through a couple of the photos so you can see how crispy they are. We got the maps.
And these were photos that you took yourself.
All original photos. Yep. I walk you. It's like walking through the temples. I literally take you through almost step by step through these temples. Over 360 4K resolution, high definition photos. So you guys can really see all of the Medu Netter. I mean, it's looking crispy, right, Saray?
It does.
So this volume that I'm showing you right now is volume 1. It's got Luxor Temple. It's got Karnak Temple. It's got Dendera. It's got the Temple of Seti I at Abydos. It's got Hatshepsut's mortuary temple. It's got the temple at Medinet Habu and a few other temples. This is the first volume. We're working on the second volume right now, but you guys want to pick this up, man. This is a much needed companion for the film.
Yes, and Miss Kimberly Wade just said in the chat, as you're watching, the films, it just opens your eyes up to so much, because there's so much that we really have been denied. And she said it makes you yearn and crave more. So she said she can't wait to see the full film and even purchase the photo book as well. It's a lot. It's a lot, and you almost need each piece of it to really to get the most out of it and to really internalize it.
Yeah, so make sure you guys get the photo book, man. That's a much needed piece. It's a much needed piece. Again, outofdarknessfilm.com. You can also, we got the bundle on there. So if you get the bundle, you can get the bundle with all 3 DVDs, Out of Darkness 1, the original one, Heavy as a Crown Volume 1, and Heavy as a Crown Volume 2 for $64.99. If you get the bundle, you get the photo book for free as a digital download. So if you guys don't have the DVDs, I know you guys, we don't play DVDs no more. I don't even know anybody. Even if you don't have a DVD player, man, just pick them up. It's a collector's item. You never know. We got the government shutdown right now. They could just shut down the internet. You know what I mean? You never know. So you want to have a backup. You know what I mean? Just in case. Just keep these. Like I said, it's a living, breathing historical document that you gotta keep in your library, man. You gotta. I would buy them and not even open them. You know what I mean? It's gonna be streaming. We should be on Vimeo on the 11th. And we should be on Amazon. If we don't make it to Amazon by the 11th, it'll be on Amazon within the week. But my distributor says it should be on Amazon on Tuesday, but you never know with Amazon. Somebody said, why isn't it on YouTube anymore? Because we signed the, it's an excellent question. We signed the global distribution deal with Vision Film. So it got temporarily taken down from YouTube and Tubi, but it should be back up definitely on those platforms by February for Black History Month. We should be going to cable, DirecTV, Google Play, Fandango, Tubi, Roku, all of that good stuff. And it's a global deal, so we got it. We're gonna do the international release, guys. So
in other words, it was a temporary setback for the come up. Okay.
Yeah. It's it's politics behind it. It's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. I don't know if anybody's a filmmaker or in this film distribution world, but there's a lot of put it like this. It took me about a month and a half just to get the film through the QC process. So a lot of independent filmmakers, they don't get past the QC process, man. If I told you, I could talk just about an hour just about the QC process, man. So it was intense, but we finally got it through the QC process, and we're good to go. So now we're in the final stages of the release. So we're getting ready to.
Mr. Sergio, will it be available in the Netherlands? So with the global distribution deal, it will, because he's asking specifically about watching it on Amazon.
It should be. It might not be this week. Amazon has different markets and territories, but we're working on it, man. We're going to get it to as many places as we can. Just stay tuned, stay updated on the, if you haven't signed up to our email list, go ahead and go to outofdarknessfilm.com, sign up for the email list. We'll keep you guys updated.
Yes, sir. All right. So as we can see, this is a great body of work that you have helped put together. And it's almost mind-boggling for one man to really take the lead on that. But there are a couple of other brothers that we have on the line right now who are part of the Building 7 team and play a part in helping all of these things come together in their own way. So it'll be cool to hear from them real quick if we could.
Let's bring up my Detroit guys.
Detroit,
first to the stage, Mr. Toby Tansel.
Toby, what's up?
What up, though?
What up, though?
So, big shout out to my brethren. For y'all that don't know, this is how I explain this brother and his talent. I call him a combination of Mozart, Spike Lee, and Jay Dilla. You get that rolled in one, and you got the brother on with their
Tell them what we working on, Toe.
So at B7, we a team, and we moving in different parts of the world. So today, while you guys were getting set up for the virtual screening, me and the brother Get to See Johnson had a physical screening in person at the Charles Wright Museum in Detroit, Michigan, which is the second largest African-American museum in the United States. So we're screening our film about Detroit's Black history, and the name of that film is called Walk Through the Valley. It's local history about Detroit, but essentially it's Black America's story. It's a comprehensive film documentary series about Detroit, and we showed a chapter called The Settlement of Detroit, which covered the indigenous population here, the different sects of European groups that came to invade and colonize the area, and the Africans that inhabited the area pre European colonization and post. And that's just the beginning. We're showing it in different sections, and people loved it. Brother Kaba, King Kaba, salute to the GOAT. He told us years ago that the mark of a great event is when don't nobody want to go home after. And after people left our merchandise table, they didn't want to go home. So the team is always moving. Very excited to see the feedback about this incredible story. I refer to it as spiritual colonization, and Brother AC is attacking that head on by using our scholars and using the wealth of information that they have. We're just the youthful energy that's coming in and translating that contextually. And that's from Detroit. What's up, y'all?
Yo, I want to say, Toby's been my rock, man, for about a good 10 years, man. I've been going back and forth to Detroit about 3 or 4 times a year. I got to get back this year, hopefully, if not early next year, man. Love the food, man. Toby be taking me to all the spots, but man, Toby's been extra supportive behind the scenes, man. He needs to shine. You guys will be seeing a lot more of him as into the next year. But we got the Detroit film, Walk Through the Valley. That's going to be a 4-part series we got. And Toby, I'm going to bring Gifted up to the stage. Gifted has been another critical piece of this Building 17, man. Musical genius. Tobe, I'm gonna bring Gifted on stage, and I'm a put you back in the green room so Gifted could get his full 3rd bar of the screen. Gifted, here we go. Gifted, you on?
There he is. What's up, brother?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, peace to the chat. Pleasure to be here.
So you got it. I know you a man of few words and a multitude of talent, but I'm sorry. I'm not gonna let y'all get away with not letting people know who y'all are and what the power is that y'all are coming with. So just introduce yourself a little bit. If I need to add on, sprinkle a little, a little pizzazz on it, I will. But let the people know who you are.
No, I'm Gifted C. Johnson. I've been working with Building 7 here and it's been a minute. Me and the brother Amadeus, as well as the whole Building 7 team, we have a lot of, I would say, life-changing, paradigm shifting, as well as aligning a lot of growth for our community with the projects that we have coming up. I play a role as a musician, historian, as well as a frequency traveler as it pertains to everybody here. I'm more so looked at as the council.
That's right.
Jedi master. Don't let him fool you, man. He's a Jedi master. Gifted is tell him where you studied at, man. Where you go to school?
Oh man. I'll just say that I studied first at home. I grew up in a family full of musical, I would say, embodiment, especially in Detroit, Michigan. I grew up with every faction or genre of music, especially from my mother. She instilled in me early on that it's not just one form of music or expression, but as a whole entity in itself. So I embodied that. I've studied at many different places. I went to Berkeley for a minute, to even locally. It's just, I feel like all of what I have to offer comes from just the experience with the people in the community. It's a sound. We have a resonance, and that resonance comes in very different forms and aspects.
Yeah. To me, what is actually mind blowing, because as a person who, my background is in music as well. I went to music school, not Berkeley, but music school nonetheless. And when I first watched the film, I didn't know that it was all original scoring. And when I found that out, I was just like, wait a minute, because these films are long. These films are long. So you're talking about hours and hours of custom composing. And for the people who do purchase the film or who do go back and watch it, I want y'all to listen. It really doesn't matter which one you pick, but just really listen because the scores are so beautiful. So thank you guys for putting the best that you have into every aspect of this film, because we end up as the audience with something that we really can't even fathom how amazing it is. So thank y'all for that.
Yeah, Gifted would just bring his keyboard to my house, man, and just serenade me a few times, just playing all of these different music. He would just go off on these riffs and just, the boy is a genius, man. The man is, he's a genius. So the piano parts you hear in the film, particularly, I think the part where they was talking about the moon in the feminine principle chapter, that's Gifted. Incredible talent, man. Genius brother. Always tells me to guard my frequency, man. He keeps he keeps the energy of Building 7 at a high vibration, man. Critical piece to this to this puzzle, man. So shout out to my brother. Appreciate you.
No, man, appreciate you, brother, and what we have in store. It's only the beginning.
Yeah. Wait till you guys hear the music for the new Detroit documentary. I was blown away. I'm still blown away. I'm waiting. I'm still chopping at the bit.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, man. You guys will be seeing a lot more Gifted. We got some podcasts coming up, man. So you get to know the brothers a lot better. But peace, Gifted. I'm gonna put you backstage. We'll get to the Q&A. Let's bring up Kaba and Zaza. Anything you wanted to say, Saray, before we do the Q&A?
I just want to say thank you to the brothers of Building 7. Thank y'all for being here.
We got one more who couldn't be here today. My guy, Von Dale Williams, man. He's the operations guy. You'll be seeing a lot more of him too. He's out in Maryland right now doing some family stuff with the Fam Bam, but yeah, you guys will see a lot more of us, especially 2026 when we kick off this next phase. So let's bring Kaba.
And while you bring Zaza, one more comment. But shout out to the brother who's here with us from the House of Keperu. He said, I wanted to take a moment to express deep gratitude for the sacred work you're doing through projects like Heavy is the Crown, in a world where most media distracts, divides, and distorts. So that was a shout out to you and Building 7 there. It was beautifully worded.
And shout out to Sabir Bey, man. He's in the comment section lurking around somewhere, man. Shout out to my brother, Sabir Bey. Wow. He's a big part of this too, man.
Yes. So lady and gentlemen, we are here. We are all together now. Thank you guys once again for being here. And just that 30-minute clip of the film, it was jam-packed with a lot. I'm here in Houston. I'm a member of the Shrine of the Black Madonna, which is a local church. Mm-hmm. And you know. So there's a lot in there. So I just want to hear just some initial thoughts and reactions from you guys. And then we'll go into some questions that have come in from the chat. So we'll start, ladies first. We'll start with you, Miss Ali.
Yes, thank you. And man, I feel full from 30 minutes, of course, but my curiosity is definitely getting the best of me. I wrote 3 pages of notes. I'm an avid note taker. And so I like to make sure that I like to retain information. Brother Kaba, I love you so much. I'm so grateful for your life, for your energy, for your essence, for your wisdom, for your aura, for your perspective. Is just so refreshing to me. My first page of notes was from you in itself, and you know how fond I am of you. But I'm just so grateful for your life. You, Professor James Small, Tosh Tariq Bey, Anthony Browder, you guys are all my big homies. And in my textbook, you're all in the description, each one of you. And I acknowledge that I have grown and learned from your work. And so I know sometimes it doesn't feel like it matters or it's sticking to the rib or our people are listening. Like, no, for the last 20 years, I have been tuned in and tapped into your message. And I'm so grateful for you. The brother Gifted said, we have a resonance, right? And so you have contributed greatly to my energetic resonance. And this film and that 30 minutes as a woman, and, ancient people, when I decided to write this book, I realized that 75% of the textbooks that the world has received or have been written by men. So that's one thing, right? And then we have our spiritual greats that have been teaching us, you as well as others who have been teaching us about the breadth of knowledge and wisdom that we come from. But I took that personal, that there have not been a lot of women that have actually tapped into the historical sphere to bring that divine feminine balance and perspective in terms of how we retell these tales. And then, of course, adding that energetic resonance, as he talked about, the part about the Black Madonna. And you said, I think it was you, no, it was Professor James Small that said, Blacks having whites as gods is detrimental, right? And that really piqued my mind because it's from the historical perspective, it's from the books that they've created and how we've been programmed accordingly. It's from the images and representations of what beauty is, right? Dark skin versus white skin. It's from the school systems, it's from the science systems, it's from the educational systems. They have created themselves as gods in all of these different areas of, let's say, civilization or people activity. And so for me, I've been intentional with my life's work of changing that trajectory and that narrative and taking all of our SHHHHH back, being respectful and not cursing, right? So I've been intentional, like, nah, we're taking it all back. And this film represents that same notion and intention of taking it back, because there is a very specific war on our women in particular, because they understand this science, right? You say, it's Professor James Small said, I understand them creating white deities for the purpose of their own people, but then they go in the back room and they worship the ones who look like us, right? So we all understand the chronological order and the importance of the representation of the divine mother and the divine child and that Trinity, as was repeated several times. I'm so proud of you, Amadeus. I'm
Thank you.
So proud of you. I'm so thankful. It's so important for our men to elevate us, and not just because it's the right thing to do, but because there is a plethora of data and information that verifies that this is the actual, I won't say the right order of things, because we've been through a process over the last 2,000 years, and then in the last 500 years, depending on which way we look at it. But we've been through a spiritual purge, right? We've been detoxing. We've been fortified in the fire. We've been, been challenged and having to study those people as well as ourselves, what we're capable of, right? The story of Hiram Abiff and this concept of being buried in a shallow grave and then having to be resurrected and coming back in and retaking your posture and your position. That's alchemy at the highest levels, right? And so where some of us got stuck at slavery, some of us got stuck at Jim Crow, some of us got stuck at the white man being the devil, some of us got stuck at these different points, the alchemizing of the situation, going back to what Brother Kaba talked about in terms of the sun, S-U-N, versus the S-O-N, right? In terms of Christ consciousness, in terms of Judas and Satan. And he said, don't throw that book away, which was so powerful and so profound, because anytime you can get 2 billion people to believe something, it's alive. The book is alive. All of the books are alive, right? And so when we go back and look at 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 years ago, we are reimagining and recreating and re-emphasizing the coding and the language and the energy of our ancestors and making it alive again, but making it alive with the civil rights movement, making it alive with the lynchings and what our people went through in the early 1900s, making it alive with hip hop, making it alive with crack cocaine and what it did to Oakland, and the alchemizing of that experience to put me in the position that I'm in right now to be talking to you guys, making it alive with the beautiful experiences of Black culture that the whole entire world is tapped into everything we do, right? So it's alive, it's living, our culture is living, it's expanding, and I'm just so happy to be with you guys. I'm so excited. There's a lot more I can say, but I'm going to stop because I want to be quiet for a minute and listen to the brother add more of wisdom than he's already blessed us with. But thank you so much, King, for being here, for everything that you do. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. And I feel like one of the reasons why I wanted you specifically to be here, and I want to say this in front of everyone, as we thought about what would be the best curation for a panel and guests today, knowing that this film is about the divine feminine, but at the same time asking, well, I can't speak for nobody but me, but I'm asking myself, well, who embodies that authentically in a way that is clear to everyone, to where we know that they're in this for the reasons that they say they are, and they're serious about the work. No offense to anyone, but you really were one of the only people that even could come to mind. So thank you for who you are in the midst and in the light of everything that you've gone through. And I love how you framed our experience as a people as its own form of alchemy. That's a reframe right there. I can run with that. So thank you for that. And thank you for you.
I received that. Thank you, Queen.
Welcome, you're welcome. All right, Brother Baba Kaba. What is your initial thoughts and initial reactions specifically about this portion of the film that we have just seen? What do you feel like is important for people to be able to elucidate from that part of the film?
You know, I think that one of the most important things that you can do, and one of the things that I always ask people to do, no matter who it is that you're dealing with, is I say, judge people by their work, because their work reflects who they are. And I have followed my sister Zaza Ali for a long time. Her consistency, her intensity, her stick-to-itiveness to the task at hand. For us as a people, she is the generation that's coming forward with this information. And it's important that we understand the work that people do, because see, people do a lot of talking. Okay, and social media is out here and they do a lot of talking, but everybody don't practice what they preach.
Come on.
And it's time that we become very accurate in identifying those who most deserve our respect and our attention. Because if I could give advice, I say this whenever I visit schools, I talk to young people, I talk to us as a people, the most precious thing you have in life is time. You can have a whole lot of money and lose it, make more money the next day. You can have all sorts of houses, they all burn down. You can build another one. But there'll never be another November 9th, 2025. So how you spent this time is a currency in life. How you spend your time. That's why we say pay attention. Because your attention is time. And I think that our sister Zaza, her book, Ancient People, should be in every one of our libraries to bequeath to our children who are yet born. Just as the film, Heavy as the Crown, it's you know, Beethoven, another brother, a Moor, that I appreciate, when he used to play for families in Europe, he used to have to eat with the servants in the kitchen. That's how I knew he was Black.
Uh-oh.
And he was never honored. He was honored. He was respected as a musician, but during the time he lived in, but he never knew that he would become the person that he has become. But Beethoven was so dedicated to his craft He didn't do it for the money. He didn't do it for the hand clap, because that's what Dr. John Henry Clark told me in the beginnings of my career. He said, if you're doing this for the money or the hand clap, get out now.
Right.
You have to do it because you love it. You have to do it because it's your divine purpose. And so with you, my sister Saray, my brother Amadeus, sister Zaza, brother Toby, and Gifted C. Okay, now I know Gifted C didn't say this, but you know, when I was in Detroit not too long ago, Heru and I were in Detroit doing some work. Toby was there, Gifted was there, and I had a chance to go to the tour of the Motown Museum. And it was Gifted that brought us there. And not only was the tour great, but he gave us extra information as it relates to music. And not just that, Gifted, I'm going to drop it. I know you didn't say it. Maybe people don't want, I'm going to say it. But when you talk about your relationship with the Detroit community, it's important for people to understand that you are related to Berry Gordy. And so that when you talk about that depth of music, you went to all those schools, and that's phenomenal. But brother, you were born with the genius of music in you. And it relates through all that you've done, your frequency, your vibration, the way you are. And, you know, brother Toby, you are just a phenomenal person to know, to work, to know your family. Okay. And just what we have to do as a people, because what I get from this film, which is so important to me, as it relates not just to ancient Kemet, Kush Kemet. You can't understand Kemet if you don't understand Kush.
Yes.
Because the people that they call the first dynasty were Kushites.
Yes.
And that's very important to understand, because there was no way that anybody could come from traveling to the west into Kemet that could be the builders of that civilization, because the river flowed from south to north. So the people that built the civilizations, you're telling me that there were people, Indo-Europeans, that came in, stood in the swamp of Kush Kemet or Egypt, and was waiting for the land to take over the water. That's just ridiculous. But however, psychologically, they have been able to do that. They've done the same thing with the Moors. And the reality of it is that it is impossible biologically, intellectually, and spiritually to do this. And what I think is so important about the work that you're doing, Brother Amadeus, the work that Zaza is doing in her book, Ancient People, the work that I am doing is that I am deciphering our ancestors' codes. See, reading isn't about reading. I've taught reading to kindergarten, first grade, high school. Reading is decoding. The code of a language is inside the way in which the vibration of the sounds of the words come forward. What you have done in this film is that you have decoded it. It makes sense to a brother or sister on the block.
Yes.
You're connecting their neurons, those nerve cells in their brain, and they're beginning to realize, wait a minute, because I've seen some comments here. They say, wait a minute, there's something wrong with this. So the decoding of what it is that we have to do. This, when I went to Kemet in June of 24, after having not been there since 87, the pyramid of Unas was open. Okay. When I was there the other two times, it was closed. So I never got in a chance to go in and see the actual pyramid text in the sarcophagus text and in the corridors. I've done a lot of research on the pyramid text. Just to give you an example of the metaphor, the Eucharistic feast in the Roman Catholic Church, where they changed the body into the body of Christ through bread, and the drinking of the wine as his blood, is carved in utterance 287 and 289 in the pyramid text. where Unas is transformed into a bull. And as a bull, he eats the body and drinks the blood of the goddesses and the gods, or the Neteru. It wasn't literal. It was a metaphor that you are what you eat. And so when you dine of the divine, you become divine. And that if you do it on earth, you'll do it when you transcend and you transform into your next life. It was a metaphor. It's a beautiful story. But when, they say you got to be careful with metaphors with children, because children don't understand figurative language. Mm-hmm. They take it literal. And so the idea of eating the body and drinking the blood of your Savior becomes a literal concept. But the bread was one of the offerings that they gave when you died. They put the bread with you. And the wine and the water was another gift that they gave. And wine is that you transform and you ferment of the fruits of the earth, like grapes or peaches or watermelon. You create a wine through fermentation, which means that you let it settle, you let it seep, you make it happen. Like in life, that's what we do with our experiences. We let them seep. Just like everybody's going to check out Heavy is the Crown, you're going to have to ferment on this. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to see it a couple of times. You're going to have to listen to the music because there's a message in the music. And the water is divine. The water is what the Creator has given you as it relates to the cosmos. So that which you ferment is the earth, and that which is water is the divine. And so because I was an altar boy, I used to serve mass, and you pour the wine, you pour the water in the chalice, and the priest drinks it. But that actually is ingesting the heavens and the earth, as above, so below. It's a metaphor. It's not to be taken literally. And so what Heavy is the Crown does, because I've seen the whole thing. I've seen it a couple times. And so I know what's going to happen as it relates to those who open themselves up to understand. Don't let nobody march your ancestors in Egypt and make you think that was their ancestors. Don't let nobody have no big party and dress like Cleopatra, the way Elizabeth Taylor and Claudette Colbert. Don't let them make you think that's not your history, because you got to decode it. When you watch them, they're decoding. I'm afraid that you finding out who you really are. So they're going to push this image on you. And with the Moors in the book, who were the Moors before the Moors? I'm trying to get deep inside of who we are as a people. Everybody talking about they came and developed the Timbuktu. Timbuktu existed for centuries before any Indo-European. Hey, it's just the way it is. Don't take it personal. It's science. You weren't there. You didn't write those books. Because if you wrote those books, you would have written them where you came from. So now all of a sudden you're getting touched by a creative force in Africa that you couldn't get touched in where you were from. So my interpretation of what I watched with the Madonna and Child in Heavy is the Crown, and what I received from all of the different visuals that I had, and with the music that I saw, and with the words that were spoken by those geniuses that you interviewed. I'm going to wrap it up like this. One of the brothers you had there was a brother by the name of Dr. Wade Nobles. He's out by you, Zaza. West Coast. I quote him like Malcolm quoted Elijah Muhammad. I say, as Wade Nobles always said. Wade Nobles said that Western civilization is vomit. And I use that because it sounds nasty. But sometimes you don't forget nasty. When you try to be nice, sometimes it can flow over your head. But when you get nasty, people understand. Vomit. And the way he explains it is the fact that when the Greeks and the Western civilization, well, when the Romans learned it from the Greeks, they learned it the way the Greeks interpreted it, which was not correct because they did not get the code.
Right.
However, Western civilization is based on the Greek and the Roman experience in Africa. The spiritual, intellectual message that our ancestors gave to the Indo-European Greeks and Romans was too rich for them to digest. They didn't have the intellectual and spiritual enzymes to digest it. And like anything that is too rich for your system, you're going to regurgitate it. You're going to vomit it back up. That's Western civilization. Vomit. Their politics, their labor, their law, their spiritual systems, their educational systems is regurgitated. And so what we tell our people is, don't throw that vomit away. Don't eat it. Don't smell it. Try not to look at it too much. Examine it. Examine it. Rescue, research, and restore our legacy. Because in that vomit, when you study it, the original meal that our Kush Kemetic, Twa, Mbuti, Khoisan, West Africa, South Africa, the meal that they cooked, you can digest it. Because you have the spiritual and intellectual enzymes to digest that food. And so heavy is the crown, is that meal that our ancestors cooked. In ancient peoples, that's the meal that our ancestors cooked. In the books that I have written, is the meal that our ancestors cooked that you can digest. I believe the times we're living in right now was destined by our ancestors. We have the DNA of the pyramid builders. We have the DNA of the plantation dwellers. We have the DNA of those who live in projects. And we have the DNA that's going to resurrect us like Heru in order to reach the promised land. Dr. King was right. We are going to get to the promised land. That's good news. But now bad news is if we don't check ourselves, a lot of us ain't going to make it. So all power to the people. Keep on moving on. It ain't over till we win.
Say. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the coaching I got the whole time I was making Heavy as the Crown. Man, thank you for the nuggets. Thank you for the wisdom, Brother Kaba. Man, it's been an inspiration and a motivation to be able to sit at your feet, man, and the rest of the master teachers that are in this film, man. You know, I could take a good amount of the credit for the film, but most of the credit I have to give to the master teachers. This process of creating this film is really me asking these questions almost as a child through my learning process and sitting at the feet of the master teachers, Brother Tony Browder, Brother Kaba, Professor James Small, Dr. Wade Nobles, shout out to Dr. Chike Akua. He's in the film. Sabir Bey, Taj Tariq Bey. I mean, all of these people have just poured into me and were actually answering the questions that I had. I think I do good at retaining the information and illustrating it. For those who don't know, I think I mentioned that I come from a music background, but prior to doing these films, prior to Out of Darkness, I actually did a lot of music videos. I went to college I went to San Jose State. Shout out to San Jose State. I went to San Jose State and got my film degree. And as I was there, one of the required classes was to take a radio class. So I took the radio class. You know, San Jose State has a radio station. So me and my partner at the time, Armand Mahmoudi, we partnered up, and all of the artists that would come to the Bay Area, we would contact them. This is in early 2011, 2012. We would contact these artists. I'm talking about your Dom Kennedys. I think we did Kendrick Lamar's first headline show. I still got all the original footage, man. He came to Oakland, and I was able to get on stage with all the TDE. And we
videos are still on the channel, aren't they?
They're still on the channel. Yeah, those are the first videos that's on the channel. The Cool Kids, Ninth Wonder, Ab Soul, and a whole bunch of other people, Locksmith. And that's kind of how I cut my teeth and got into the visual part of it. That eventually segued into me doing music videos, because at the time we would just post the videos on YouTube, post them on the blogs. Blogs was really hot at that time, but eventually it segued into music videos. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Locksmith. Locksmith is an MC who was I think he was on the Battle of the Bay on MTV, but Locksmith is my close homeboy, man, and he actually gave me a crash course on how to shoot music videos. A couple of our videos ended up on Revolt TV. One of them ended up on MTV. So that's how I learned how to basically edit and to make these, basically how to tell a story visually, because it's one thing doing interviews, but it's another thing doing music videos, man. Music videos is really tough. But I've said all that to say, during that process, I learned how to tell a story visually. Our young people, especially now with TikTok, they got super short attention spans. They don't really read as much as we did, and not nearly as generations before. So everything is kind of in the social media space. Everything has to be highly visual, highly colorful, very fast paced. It can't be boring. It has to constantly capture their attention. So that's how I was able to get my skill set up. And after a while, I kind of got tired of dealing with the industry. I'm dealing with A&Rs from like Interscope, and they're telling me to make these cuts. Shout out to my boy Satire too, from LA. He was another big piece of it, but I'm dealing with these A&Rs, and they're telling me to cut the video in a certain way and do this and do that. And I just got tired of non-Black people having an input on my work, especially from a creative standpoint. And I decided to use my talents for our people. Coincidentally, at the time, there was a place called Pan-African City Alive in Sunnyvale, and they would bring out, I just happened to find them just arbitrarily, the second time I visited them, Brother Ranoko Rashidi was there. That blew my mind. I think that was like the first conscious lecture that I had ever been to. Not too long after that, Tony Browder and Atlantis visited, and I was blown away by Atlantis, and I ended up interviewing her, interviewed Tony right after that. I was like, Atlantis, do you think you can give me an interview with your dad? That worked out. I said, I just need 15 minutes. and they didn't know who I was. Like, I'm just a young college filmmaker, but was able to sit at Tony's feet. And I remember after the first 15 minutes of it was done, I think I got the first chapter Out of Darkness done, and I sent it to Tony. And I was kind of unsure, you know, I'm still kind of young, and, you know, this is my first attempt to kind of do something this along these lines, something that's this serious. And Tony was just blown away. And that's when I knew I had something. So I was like, okay, I could do the rest of the film. Sabir stepped in. I hit Sabir up just by kind of just seeing one of his videos on YouTube. I hit him up. He brought Taj. He linked me an interview with Taj. He linked me an interview with Professor Small. That's how I got in touch with Professor Small. So Sabir was a big piece, and it just all came together. But I said all that to say, I just considered myself, I still do consider myself just a young baby, the young apprentice sitting at the feet of the masters who have a wealth of knowledge. And you know, when the masters speak, you just shut up and listen. But I had a camera, so I was able to record it. And it feels like they were all sitting in the room the way it came out. It seems like they were all sitting in the same room together, but I assure you guys, all the interviews were done at separate times. And I'm just really pleased on how everything came together. And it's not me, it's the ancestors. You know, I don't know where this music comes from. I just, you know, sit down and just create music, and it all just ends up working at the end. So this is truly a divine process. So I'm truly appreciative of everybody that's involved and has been a part of this journey. And I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Brother Kaba.
Yeah. Well, I think that now is a good time to kind of go into some of the questions that have come in from the chat. Amadeus, you just said you consider yourself just a youngin sitting at the feet of the masters. And in a way, you know, we are at this age, but in a way, you are also a consummate professional in your own right. So the first question has come in for you. Alana Morris was wanting to know the meaning behind the names Building 7 and your director name, Amadeus Christ.
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay. Building 7, of course, 7 is a spiritual number, but Building 7 comes from, I founded it in 2013 in Oakland. I don't want to go into a whole drawn out story, but when I first awoken into what I would call consciousness, it was after 9/11 had just happened. And I remember where I was. Actually, I was in San Jose. I had an apartment at 101 San Fernando, right a couple blocks away from San Jose State. 2001, I'm watching the planes hit the building, and I'm watching everything that they're saying, and immediately they have all of the hijackers' face on the screen. And I remember Larry, I want to say his name was Larry Silverstein. He was the owner of Building 7. Building 7 was one of the buildings that was in that square. And I think that might have been, I'm not sure if that was one of the first ones to come down, but make a long story short, they brought Building 7 down. And Larry Silverstein was on TV saying, due to the damage that the building took, we decided to take the building down. And they brought the building down, and I was like, hold on, that doesn't make any sense, because it takes weeks to plan the demolition of a building. You don't just bring a building down just whenever you feel like it. It takes weeks of planning, months of planning, because you got to strategically place the explosives in different places of the building. So when they brought that building down, I guess that was my Alice in Wonderland kind of moment of just kind of waking up and be like, holy crap, this is not real life. So that stuck with me. So the other part of building 7, besides all of this spiritual stuff, connotations, the 7 days of the week, the 7 major organs of the body, was, and we can go on about 7 forever, but I actually spent 7 years working at Google. I wasn't a white badger, I was a contractor, but I worked at Google for 7 years, from 2007 to 2014. And that was a super, super, super eye-opening experience for me. I actually worked at Google headquarters in Mountain View, and I was they called me. I wasn't even looking for a job. I was like rapping at the time. I was literally in the studio, and they called me. They were like, hey, we found your resume. We came across your resume online. Would you like to come work at Google to head up the Hardware Depot program? And the Hardware Depot program was just basically like they had mini stores in all of the different buildings in Google, and they had to be stocked up with like peripherals and stuff like that. So I was like, sure. So they brought me in. I literally went into my interview like a week later, got hired the same day, was working there like 2 days later. And that blew my mind. Working with some of the smartest people in the world, some of the most beautiful women in the world. But working with these intelligent, some of the most intelligent people in the world, I was inspired to go back to school to get my degree, because I had started at San Jose State when I was 17, but I dropped out to kind of pursue rap. When I got to Google, I was like, oh, I need to go back to school to get my degree, but I didn't know what it was going to be in. So I'm literally like looking through the course catalog. I originally got disqualified from San Jose State the first time I went. So when I reapplied to go back, they made me take a couple courses at a community college. So I ended up going to Ohlone College. So I'm looking at the course catalog, trying to figure out what I'm going to major in. And I just happened to see film. Keep in mind, I had no intentions to be a film director, to go into film. I was just rapping at the time. I wanted to do music, but for some reason, film stuck out. And I was like, okay, this is something that I could actually do. Ended up taking the film class. One of the classes was an editing class. We had to edit on these Avid boards, this big, long SSL board. Third day of the class, the teacher gives everybody all of the footage. We're supposed to edit something. We're supposed to edit like a 4 or 5, 10-minute clip with all of this footage that he gave us. I got done in a few minutes. Didn't really know how to work the board, just kind of figured it out. Went back to the teacher, said, I'm done. And he was like, oh, you need the footage. He's like, let me give you the footage. And I said, no, I'm done. He was like, you can't possibly be done. I said, no, I'm done. And he's like, show me. And we went over to the board. The whole class is looking. And I played him a short music video that I had cut with the footage. And he was like, he was blown away. And he looked at me like, he's like, why are you even in this class? Like, why are you in this class? I said, this is the class they told me to take. He's like, okay. And since point, I knew that I had a natural gift for filmmaking, and I decided to pursue film. So I ended up passing the class, obviously, went back to San Jose State, got my degree in radio, television, and film, and the rest is history. So those were the two pivotal things that kind of shaped my path, if that makes sense. I know that was a long-winded answer, but I had to give you guys some context.
Chat is listening. Somebody said their daughter works for Google right now, who's an engineer. It's, the KOS project said every documentary you make is fire, so the backstory makes sense.
Appreciate the question. Appreciate the question.
And you got some Oakland in your background, so of course that just adds a lot of value to it, you know.
Off top.
Yeah.
So somebody said, hold on. Mr. Leroy Green says, hold on, Zaza, aren't you from Oakland too, or am I tripping?
Born and raised, absolutely.
Yep. So you got some Bay Area people in the building.
My area was High Street in MacArthur.
Okay, yes, I know that part. Those parts where I was. Brookfield is where I grew up, in the neighborhood that I was, you know, kind of nurtured in. And just so you know, people from Oakland don't identify as Bay Area. We're like strong Oakland, right? And then everything else is the Bay. And I say that because when you're from Oakland, you recognize it's a thing. But everybody else, the Bay Area is a whole like cultural sort of mecca. But then when you're from Oakland, you're like, nah, I'm from Oakland. It's part of the Bay, but it is Oakland. You know, it's a thing.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I apologize for my ignorance because I have
not at all. This is all love. Come on now.
I'm messing up.
I got on to San Francisco. I actually grew up until about 12 years old. I was raised in the city. My family is originally from Fillmore, in the city. Fillmore, Haight Street and Pierce, to be exact. So right in the heart of the Fillmore, that's where my family's from. So I'm a city boy at heart, but I feel like Oakland is where I got my soul.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a couple other questions that have come through. There's 4 that I have kind of just compiled from the chat, and 2 are addressed specifically to Brother Kaba, and the other 2 aren't. So they aren't addressed to anyone specifically, so we'll just roll with it and see how it goes. But the first question is from the Jolly story, something like that. Sorry if I'm messing that all up. And he says it's for Kaba. He says, I am a 26-year-old South Sudanese brother born in Sudan, and I've been here in America for the past 20 years. He asks, how can I use this knowledge to better understand my history and where I fit into it?
Because I think this is your history. And I think that, you know, like so many, even everywhere that I think that we have been, we have Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, brilliant Senegalese scholar, says there are 3 things that someone will take from you when they wish to oppress you. This has nothing to do with culture. This just has to do with human dynamics, human behavior. They take your history, they take your language, and they take your values, interests, and principles. And then they superimpose their history, their language, their values, interests, and principles. And so the life that you live, if you so choose to embrace someone else's coding, whatever decision you come to will never be in your best favor because you're looking at the world through someone else's eyes. And so to my brother from Sudan, you have the DNA of your ancestors. There's nothing, they'll never be able, no one can take that from you. You just have to activate it. And you know, to all the young and the elders I come in contact with, elders that say, man, I just wish I knew this when I was 20 years old. But I believe in divine destiny. You didn't know it because it wasn't your time. Now you know. So it doesn't make a difference your age when you learn this. When I speak to young people, even when I speak to other people who are doing this work, they say, I'm young in this and I'm just moving through it. But the most important thing that you can do, my fortune was to have been introduced to Dr. Clark when I was 12 and a half, and to be on this path at a time in my life. In fact, what really put me on this path was the fact that I wanted to be a priest. Can you all believe that? I wanted to be a Roman Catholic priest. I grew up Roman Catholic. I wanted to be a priest. You're in that world. I'm doing work as a young seminarian in the basement of the church, and I come upon a book that talks about how a sect of priests protected this sacred statue from the Nazis in World War II. And it said, and it was in the film, my brother Amadeus, Our Lady of Czestochowa. Okay? But in parentheses, it said the Black Madonna and Child. Now, I had never heard this before. And so since I had met Dr. Clark when I was 12 and a half, I had his phone number. I was about 14 at the time. I called him up. And I said, Dr. Clark, I came upon some information. I just want to know, from what you think about it. And I told him what happened. And if you knew Dr. Clark, you would know that at a certain time in your conversation with him, it would get very quiet. And since I was in his presence, I knew what he was doing. He was smirking. He was smiling. He said, I got this young brother now. I didn't know it then, but I know it now when I remember the phone call. He said, well, come up to my house, call me, come up to my house, and we'll talk. And so when I got up to his house, he gave me a mimeograph copy. Okay, now I'm talking about purple ink. I ain't talking about Xerox. I'm talking about mimeograph that you got to do the machine like that. Gave me a mimeograph machine of a short story that he wrote called The Boy Who Painted Christ Black. It became a short story. Blair Underwood, I think, played the part. And I read it, and I went back and I called him. I told Dr. Clark I'd like to come up. This is about 2 or 3 weeks. I had read it at least 8, 9, 10 times, marked it, everything. So I go up and Dr. Clark starts to hit me with some information that just was blowing my mind when it came to our culture. Went home, told my parents. My mother was the Roman Catholic. My father was AME Zion. And so they said, you sure? I said, yeah. So we went out, we bought a suitcase because my mother always liked to do things right. My father was a tailor from Tuskegee, and he pressed the cassock and the surplice, my vestments as a seminarian. And I went back, and my supervising priest said, Booker, I think the church is losing you. And I said, Father, the church has lost me. I put the suitcase on the table and left and never went back. Now, I tell that story because of why I'm a teacher of children. Because I know that if we can get to our young people, our kindergarten babies, 4 years old, 5 years old, if we can get this information to them, they won't go through all of the formative brainwashing that we go to, that have us hold on to these make-believe stories. I'm still answering my brother from Sudan's question, because the point that I'm trying to say is that everything that I have ever become, I was born with. All I needed was for someone like Professor Clark to come along and drop that knowledge on me. Because the most important thing that you can do with all of this, no matter where you are, is to realize your experiences are not reality. It's someone else's reality. And everything else you're going to do in your life is only accumulate the information. Once you walk through the Stargate, it's done. Once you walk through the Stargate and you realize that this information is here, the fact that the brother from Sudan is on this program, you already walked through the Stargate, brother. All you got to do is keep on keeping on. All you got to do is continue to research this information. All you have to do is get the stream of Heavy is the Crown. Get Sister Zaza's book, Ancient People. Support the scholars that are out here. Check out Anthony Browder. Check out Ashra Kwesi. That's all you have to do. Keep on keeping on. Because the real test is, can you go through the Stargate? And the Stargate is when the Creator, your ancestors, and if I may say, the African Holy Ghost touches your soul. Then it's done. What we're doing right now, this is the African Holy Ghost.
Sheo.
That's it. Let it touch you. Let it make you who you are. Don't make love. Let love make you.
Peace. We got a little bit more time for 1 or 2 more questions. Saray, you want to bring up another?
Let's see what we got here.
Question?
A question was asked in the documentary. This is from Eden's Task. In the documentary, it said that African people, or Kemet, had a matrilineal perspective, but most West Africans are patrilineal, meaning today. Did the Europeans introduce patrilineal, culture to them? That is the question.
It's an excellent question.
You want to start off, Brother Kaba, and then Zaza, you can add on.
I want to hear what he has to say, but yes.
Zaza, I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, would you like me to answer? He asked you directly, so.
Please. Well, I'll do after you.
Okay, yes. So I would definitely say that was introduced by Europeans, but I also want to say, because it's important that we, spiritually, you understand that by the time Europeans come and start setting up trading posts and, sort of setting up shop to do what they ended up doing, that we've already kind of been out of alignment spiritually, right? There's already been a process that's been taking place that kind of opened the doors for them to open the door. And so I think that Pharaoh Hatshepsut being an example, right? And what she went through during her time and this sort of battle for power and her having to dress up in male regalia, right? And to be identified in terms of masculine identity. There was a power struggle at that point already in certain aspects of our culture between the masculine and feminine, or the male-female dichotomy, which opened the door, so to speak, for Europeans to come in and to, take the position and do what it is that they did. So I'm speaking spiritually, right? And sort of, our mentality in ancient people. I talk about the Moors in Spain and how at a certain point, there were certain kings that had, 1,000, 5,000 concubines, right? Now, what is the purpose of having 5,000 concubines? Now, we could say, well, we rescued them from, war-torn environments, or they were in certain situations, and all of that is relative. But at the same time, when our lower nature starts to drive the ship, right, then a lot of things happen as a result. Also, the term slave was originated from the term Slav, because European Jews at the time were selling blonde-haired and red-headed women, who these African kings who were ruling during a certain period of Moorish Spain rulership, not the whole time, but as power grows, right, and is unchecked, and then lust grows, and then, again, the lower nature starts to drive the ship. Now, all of a sudden, we're buying white women from Jews all up and down, Europe, and using them to supplement the lower nature of these African kings at the time. So I'm saying all of that to say that this sort of battle and this issue between the male-female dichotomy the gates for that to open, where the Europeans came in and blew it in, we were already a little bit off balance in terms of how we were operating, you could say power and being unchallenged, right? There's no adversity, there's no difficulty when you rule for so long and you have power for so long. Adversity and pain and suffering and difficulty is what keeps you growing and expanding. And a lot of times when you don't have that, you get lazy, you get, complacent. And so we at different points in our history did get lazy, did get complacent. There were these small battles that were taking place. There were battles between Nubia and Kemet at certain points. They weren't major to where they were going to blow up the whole situation, but there were little cracks in the crevices, so to speak, that kind of opened the floodgates. So I want to make sure that we say that, because Europeans came in and capitalized on these things. And that's eventually what moved us into a more patriarchal space, and then coming in and, offering you gold or offering you trinkets when Africa is bountiful and plentiful in gold. How is that possible, right? So there were a lot of things that happened that led us to that point. But I will say that Europeans definitely came in and sort of, with the raping of the women, now you have this mixed breed of children who are now standing in the place and, sort of, depending on which parent could gain control, right? Because if our African ancestors, the mothers, were able to bring those children into the fold and teach them their true history and what love and spirituality is supposed to be, then we can take those children and use them to further our agenda and our progress. But if the white man who did the raping is also able to take those children under his wing and teach them and program them in his ways, then they become progenitors of his agenda, right? So we've been operating from this defensive posture when we've been dealing with them, because we didn't understand the concept of being at war with nature, right? The concept of being mad at Mother Nature because you're in a cave for a certain amount of time and there's no sunshine and everything is unforgiving and relentless, right? We didn't have that constitution. We did have a bountiful and plentiful constitution, but it was necessary for the Europeans to do what they did so we could come back to a center of balance and respect the polarities, right? Because everything is not all love and light, right? Everything is not supposed to be all good. There is an element of chaos when we go back to Newt and the beginning of what later became the Big Bang Theory. But these African deities, these the representation of the cosmos, chaos is in every facet. I'm a mother. I gave birth to a child, a boy. The process is so chaotic and painful and difficult. There's so much suffering that comes out of that. But then, right, the alchemy of that experience is that now I have manifested, I have experienced, I have proven the science of what we call God through my womb in that process. And so through the going from matrilineal or matriarchal to patriarchal and the concept of all of those things in the bigger scheme of things was and is necessary, because now we have to look at the masculine or the matrilineal and the matriarchal and see where we as women fell short, right? We were talking about the Sibyls, talking about the Mabiwatas, talking about the ancient queens, and how we, the concept of the divine mother, the concept of the Black Madonna. Okay, so how do we go from there to here? And I accept that responsibility to as a woman, right, representing the divine feminine. I'm okay with going back and looking at that part of the story. I don't need it just to all be about blaming men and what our men didn't do. You didn't protect us. You did. Okay, that's part of the story. But if we were the maintainers of the spiritual wisdom, how did we get so out of alignment with all of those things considered where we got here today? So again, alchemy, taking those difficult experiences and circumstances and looking at it and mining the wisdom from that, mining the wisdom from patriarchy. I don't even really like using that word, but it is relative, right? Mining the wisdom of being born into a world where capitalism and greed and dysfunction. I think probably you said earlier, I'm on like 6 pages of notes now, so pardon me. but you or Taj said that the mother son and study is the meaning of masonry, right? That was such a jewel to me. And then suppressing the the feminine energy. I think that was Atlantis in the film. She said the depressing of the female energy is what brought about chaos because we were out of balance, right? So now we have suicide. We have people. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that say I'm lost. 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old. I'm lost. I don't know what to do in my life right now, right? Anxiety, victim-based consciousness, lack-based consciousness. So the patriarchal mentality and frequency was important to show us what's possible when we get out of alignment with source, when we get out of alignment with the divine feminine, which is not only represented by women, because one of the biggest issues we have right now is that our men are out of alignment with their divine feminine. So empathy, compassion, the ability to nurture something to life, right? The ability to love yourself. These are characteristics and attributes that our men are supposed to embody so that they can experience and realize and manifest the fullness of what it is to be quote unquote God in the flesh, or higher representations of Christ consciousness, or however you fathom that. So the patriarchal, the last 6,000 years, if we use that timeline, 2,000 years, if we use that timeline, the patriarchy has been very important and instrumental to alchemize all of those experiences so that we could come back to the center, right? Where the divine masculine and the divine feminine co-rules, right? We don't have to keep having conversations about submissions and who's supposed to be head of the household. Truth is supposed to be the head of the household. How about that? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I only say that because we're all screaming at each other, yelling at each other. There's no cohesion. There's no listening. There's no softness. There's no compassion. Right. So the patriarchy, the patrilineal, all of these different titles and labels that we've given it, when it all boils down to it, is necessary. The white man's rulership for a certain amount of time on our planet was necessary so that we could see what we're capable of, what our lower nature is capable of if it's not put in check. And I know I kind of went above and beyond the concept of the question, but so the question is more important than the answers in certain regard. And then upping the ante on how we're looking at these things, right? Where is God in all of this? That's what I've always been trying to figure out. With slavery, why would God allow this to happen? Why, I got stuck on that for a while. But then when I step back and look at the bigger picture in the divine feminine perspective, it's like, okay, this is alchemy on the highest levels. Because he said, Brother Kamami said, from pyramid builders to plantations to projects. And it's funny because when I was writing Ancient People, I was in awe. I had that level of understanding. I was thinking in the past from the pyramid builders and able to have an experience with them during the time that I was writing the book, the concept of plantations and how I got stuck on slavery, and I couldn't get past that for years. I spent 2 years in college studying things that I didn't have anything to do with my major. I was trying to understand, how do white people pull this off? And then the projects, and me referencing Oakland, the Black Panthers, the Nation of Islam, the street codes, right? The everything that is our culture, hip hop, rap music, from the flyest and best parts of it to the worst parts of it that is being, sort of spearheaded for them to program the world using our culture, right? So from pyramid builders to plantations to projects, those of us that have the ability to conceptualize these things, to care enough, right, to fathom what it took to unlock the wisdom. He talked about Greco-Roman culture, and when I used to be in college, I was challenging my professors. And when I studied Greek philosophy, I was like, none of this makes any sense, right? And everybody's like, oh, it's so hard. No, it's not hard. You didn't have the wisdom to be able to take what was given to you and make it make sense so that you could turn around and make it a fathomable, understandable concept that you could teach to other people. So it sounds like gibberish. And they just made it seem like you were so smart because we had the codes, we had the energetic resonance, the proper perspective, the heart countenance, going back to the divine feminine. And this is another reason why we're so out of whack. We don't respect the heart chakra. But now the scientists of this world have measured the electromagnetic field of the heart and found out this is the real power source. The brain is a battery, yes, but this right here is the real power source. Well, who is supposed to be maintaining and teaching and focusing and cultivating the heart chakra, the love chakra, the spiritual perspective? It is us. So the patrilineal, the patriarchal, all of those things in the bigger scheme of things played a very important role for me to have that perspective, for me to say that right now and not say it like timidly, like I'm walking on eggshells. Because, you know, a lot of times people have a problem with women who speak with authority, but it's the pyramid builders and the plantations and the projects and all of those things, recognizing the importance of each of those things, which is why I can speak with power and authority over myself and understand the role that I have as a woman in alchemizing the circumstances of patriarchy. Yes, thank you very much, white man, for coming in and wreaking havoc on our culture. Thank you for taking the natural resources of the world and enslaving the original indigenous people of the world and putting us in a subservient position so that we could go into the mud and realize and remember what the true and living gods are actually here for. Thank you for creating technology and television and programming and social media and all of these things to try to use it against us, because the only thing we're going to do is alchemize that too and find a way to bring the world back to source, back to God, back to self. So when I look at those words and that language and how we got to where we are, it's important to, you know, pre-white man, ... right? Before he came, we had this. Yeah, but we were also off our square in a lot of regards too. So he came in to serve his mission. He served it. And now here we are serving ours.
Putting it back together.
Yes.
Kaba, you want to jump in?
The concept that I use, the pyramids, plantation, and project, is also goes to Sister Zaza's concept of transformation and alchemy, in terms of taking what you have and transforming it into something that it was, but not in that context. Because there's only one atom. We studied the table of periodic elements, but there's only one atom, and that's the hydrogen atom. And if you fuse 2 hydrogen atoms, you get helium. If you have 3, you get lithium. If you get 6, you get carbon. But there's only one truth. There's only one atom that multiplies itself into what it is. And so for me, the transformation of us as a people had to come down, you see, because when we were in our own way, okay, we did something, which I'm going to stick a pin, go back to it afterwards and talk about where I see some of our downfall. But we were in a point where we were in heaven. We knew heaven. We were living under certain conditions that were just phenomenal, starting with the Twa and Mbuti Khoisan of Central and Southern Africa. They were the first family. They were the first to come out of the Homo sapien to become thinkers. We knew heaven. We created a concept of hell, the sacred lake that had the 4 baboons on either side. But we didn't know hell. We figured through balance, if we knew heaven, that there would be a hell. But we didn't know it. So the Creator said, well, you know something? I'm going to take a few of you out of heaven and I'm going to put you in hell so that you'll know what hell is. You'll experience hell. And so they took a group of those dwellers of the pyramid, the building of the pyramid builders, and they put them on plantations. Now you're going to know hell. You're going to know, just like you knew the beauty, now I'm going to show you the worst in human nature. And so through transformation, we as an African people had to find our way off the plantation. It made us think in ways we didn't before. Because if you know one way, If you know heaven and you just theorize what hell must be like, but if you know hell, then you got to get up out of it.
Yes.
And it makes you become a person you would not have been if you stayed in heaven. And so our ancestors on the plantation devised ingenious plan. Everybody looking for a classical African civilization, we all go back to Kush, we go back to Egypt. I think that our brothers and sisters, our ancestors on the plantation, were a classical African civilization. They were geniuses. They were the best of the best that were able to survive those types of conditions. And so they found their way out of the plantation. We teach our children, the Civil War was not fought over enslaving Africans. Abraham Lincoln said himself, if he could keep black folk enslaved and preserve the Union, it was about the preservation of the Union. Just Google Knights of the Golden Circle, and you'll find out why the Civil War took place. The South was about to withdraw, and they were about to create a circle, a golden circle that brought in the South, brought in parts of the Caribbean, brought in Mexico, parts of South America, and they were going to create a new confederacy there. And the North said, no, you can't do that, because you're the one with the raw materials. We're the one with the industry in the North. So long story short, that's why the Civil War took place. It was about economics, because in capitalism, you must have competition. And if you could buy an African for $300 or pay a person $300 a year for 20 years, which is cheaper, you want to keep the enslaved African. And that's what the Civil War was about. We as an African people devised a plan that was absolutely ingenious. And out of that plan, the war started amongst them, starting with the Berlin Conference, the Belgian Conference, the dividing up of Africa. That started World War I. World War I created a problem as it relates to the automobile and the airplanes, and so they had to create gasoline. And so that's when they brought the so-called Middle East into this. Then after that, they didn't like the way World War I ended, so then came World War II. And when World War II started, they needed black folk to fight. Just like they had the program with sister that was the WAC. My aunt was in World War II. She was in the Women Army Corps. Okay. And so they had black folk go to war. And a lot of black folk were so revered for their fighting stance, Tuskegee Airmen of One and others fighting. When black folk came back from the war, women included, they weren't about to sit on the back of the bus no more. And so from 1945 on started something, but in 1955, something flared that. And that was the murder, the horrible murder of Emmett Till. That divided the community into the civil rights movement by peace and Malcolm X, the ballad of the bullet. I'm taking us through this process to help us understand that we are transforming ourselves. We are alchemists that are taking materials and becoming something that we were not before, but it's no different materials. There's nothing new added to the mix. It's just that we're combining it differently. And so then all of a sudden, well, I grew up in a project. We went from plantations to projects, which is really like purgatory. Because they're saying, see, y'all not ready for it yet. You're going to get to the promised land, but you're not ready for it yet. So now in the projects, we are transforming ourselves and we're on the way to the promised land. You see all this that's going on right now? All of this is part of a much larger plan. It's a spiritual energy that's out here. I believe that the present administration is one of the greatest gifts that we have been given. Because now we got to get over thinking that they've changed. All that's open, and I want to thank him for being the Pied Piper that played that flute and brought the rats out of town. Because everybody's showing their true faces.
Facts.
It's right here in front of us. Can't make no excuses. I got black Republicans still don't want to talk to me. They turn the other way when they see me because they know you can't argue this. It's done. We just got to get ourselves together. However, let me tell you what I meant to say. We're on the way to the promised land, but we got some things we have to understand. What we have to understand is that, for me anyway, this is how I see it. Everywhere I study our history, from Egypt to the Moors, to the civil rights movement, to hip hop. Every place I see us fall, it's not because they toppled us. It's because they take advantage of us fighting amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
From Egypt to the Moor. The brother Bo Abdil was fighting with his own family in Granada. See, we got to face some stuff as black folk right now.
Yes.
Okay, let's move aside all this pretty stuff we want to say.
Right.
And just get right to it, because if we don't correct our errors, we are doomed to repeat them. The cornerstone, I believe, comes out of the Sibyls. We have to understand that somewhere around the 5th dynasty of Egypt, the men destabilized the women's power. And the queen, although she sat next to him on a throne, was not honored as a co-equal.
Yes.
This is what's happening. But the problem that because they were rich, they had everything going for them. They were living like, wow. And see, when you get so high up, you seem to forget yourself sometimes. You think you're somebody that you're really not. And the Creator is about to show you, you ain't all that you think you are. Yeah. This is before Europeans, Indo-Europeans are here. Family, I'm talking about us alone right now.
Yes.
What we did to ourselves. Whether you want to hear it or not. Let's get it. To be cured, to be healthy, you have to have operation if you're sick. And in all operations, there's bloodshed, intellectual and mental, and it hurts. But you got to have an operation to heal yourself. And the bottom line that I see is the problem not only was how they treated the woman in the society, it was how they disrespected the feminine principle within themselves.
Yes.
I am half a woman. I have a mama. I have my mother's X chromosome. I have my father's Y chromosome. My sister had my daddy's X chromosome and our mother's X chromosome. But each and every one of us is half man and half woman. It's just that for reproductive reasons, somewhere in the Devonian age, during the age of the fish, the organism was split and made into a male energy and a female energy. That then, in order to copulate and to reproduce yourself, you had to have two genders, so to speak. And we are now at a point where, because they are so confused about who they are, we have picked up their bad habits.
Yes.
The cornerstone to our resurrection and emancipation is to look to our sister as equal. Not above, not below, not under, beside. Balance, like the scales of my eyes. What makes it equal is the man and the woman. Let me end with this. Dr. Edwin Nichols, brilliant clinical psychiatrist. He talks about a test that he gave people when he goes to different organizations. Brother Amadeus, I know you interviewed him. This might be something that he spoke about, but I'm going to paraphrase it to make it easy for us to understand. What he did is that he gave a test. Let's just say it was 10 questions. There were some questions that only the men got right. There were some questions only the women got right. And then there were some questions that both men and women got right. So what's going to solve the problem if you want a perfect organization? You have to have equal representation of everybody. Because with everybody equal at the table, you get 100% of the job done. When you exclude anybody in the civilization, then you're only going to be according to how good you are in your area. And so you're going to fail in other areas. So we as Black folk, we have to understand this. Listen to what Dr. Nichols is telling us. Co-equal, no laws. Women don't need no ERA, Equal Rights Amendment. The moment you got a law to make you equal, you automatically are unequal because they can take that law back. Anytime you need a law to vote, they can easily take it back. Well, look at what they're doing.
Right.
Although Martin and Malcolm both did great things, Malcolm was more accurate. Before civil rights, you need human rights. Because there are some things that are automatically in civil rights if you're considered a human being. And so what we have to do as a people is to just understand matriarchal and patriarchal deals with the concept of power.
Yes.
Linear, matrilineal deals with the concept of the right to the degree as you move through the society itself. Black folk, as they related to when they knew what they were doing, did not have a patriarchal or a matriarchal society. It wasn't that women ruled. It was that, look at an atom. An atom has a nucleus, and in the nucleus is a proton and a neutron. Neutron is neutral, and the proton is the feminine energy. Then you have the electron. Okay, you have the K, L, M, and N shell that circles the nucleus of the atom. But the electrons, in a sense, I don't want to use the word protect. It makes the life of the nucleus able to do what it was meant to do, which was to create. Electrons are male energy. Protons are female energy. The female is connected to the neutron because she is grounded in the earth, because she brings forward life. And so what we have to do is go back to science, go back to nature. You don't have to go through all this nonsense study. Look at nature, and nature will tell you how to produce what it is that you need to do. We need to formulate our families like the atom formulated its family. Science.
Science.
And stop fighting amongst ourselves.
Yes.
That's number one. Stop it.
I like how he just said that. It's such a jewel, and it's so, but then at the same time, it's like so simple, you know, as above.
That's right. That's right.
Man, you guys got a whole college education.
The questions that I had written down for myself have been answered because you guys literally brought up every point in the questions that I have. So that's all I got.
That's that holistic teaching.
And that's because you have Zaza as the feminine energy and me as the male energy. It's balance.
Right.
Balance.
Everybody's view leads us to understand certain things.
Yeah.
We must align ourselves first.
Yes.
And I'm going to give everybody a homework assignment because I'm a teacher. I'm going to give you the homework assignment that Dr. John Henry Clark gave me when I was 12 and a half and I met him in Harlem. He said, I want you to go home and I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to tell the person that you're looking at I love you, and mean it. Because if you can't do that, there's nothing anyone else can do for you.
Simple.
Simple yet complex.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many of us spend
Yes.
so much money trying to look like somebody or be somebody that we were not born to be. The Creator don't make mistakes. So whatever the width
Yeah.
of your nose, the shape of your lips, the melanin in your skin, the kink in your hair, that's the way the Creator wanted to come forward into the world through you. Don't change it. Because when you change that, you change your relationship with the Creator. And you are the Creator having a human experience.
Shame.
Everybody got their homework assignment. Everybody got their homework assignment. We are going to wrap up this program. I appreciate everybody who tuned in, all of the wonderful questions. You guys got this comment section going crazy. I don't want to end it, but we're gonna respect the time of everybody involved. Once again, we thank you, Sister Zaza Ali, Brother Kaba. Man, it's been a pleasure. Heavy as the Crown, Volume 2, coming out November 11th, outofdarknessfilm.com.
That's right. And
You
guys,
got the-
make sure that you share this.
Please share this.
Page, share the YouTube pages of the other wonderful panelists. We got Miss Zaza Ali, we got Mr. Kabahaya Watakamani, and we got Building 7 Media. So spread this information, because it's all well and good for us to be here just soaking up all the good feelings, but throw it in the mix between the podcast wars and the foolishness that shows up on this timeline. Let this kind of shine through that and get to those who are meant to receive it. So we're looking for you guys to help us do that, and of course to watch the film when it comes out on November 11th. Yeah.
Appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll
But
catch you
may I
guys.
just ask one thing?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Please, my sister Zaza, how can somebody contact you if they'd like to get more information?
So
Your
my
website
website
or-
is zazaali.com. Website is zazaali.com. info@zazaali.com is my email, and my social media is Zaza Ali as well.
You can reach me going to kabakamene.com, KABAKAMENE.com. My Instagram page is my community bulletin board, Kaba Kamene, KABAKAMENE. It ain't over till we win, family.
Yes,
For
sir.
our children yet to be born.
Yes, sir.
And before we go, I would be remiss if I didn't say a very happy belated birthday to Ms. Zazali. You had a birthday this week, so I couldn't leave without acknowledging that. So y'all hit her up, y'all follow her, y'all show her some love in whatever currency you can, and make sure to just support all the wonderful people who are here today. So thank you.
Sister Zaza, you Scorpio?
I am a Scorpio, yes.
Oh, that explains it. So am I.
Yes. Okay, well then there we
We understand.
We understand, yes. And thank you, Queen.
You're welcome. You're welcome. No problem. And thank you to the people in the chat who have held it down with us this entire time. I mean, we have people from every time zone. Somebody just said greetings from Brazil. They were commenting that I am trying my best to understand, make sure I'm understanding what y'all are saying. We have somebody that said they are watching right now from Senegal. So thank you to each and
That's
every.
what's up. All right, y'all. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for coming out. Out of Darkness, Heavy as the Crown, Volume 2, November 11th. If you pre-ordered, you'll be getting your copy very, very soon. They ship out in a few days. If you haven't pre-ordered it, what are you doing?
That's
Go
right.
ahead and jump on that website, outofdarknessfilm.com, and get what you need.
And to all my content creators who are out there, As you are sharing your reviews of the film, as you see it, please tag Out of Darkness Film on Instagram and Headless Crown Movie on TikTok. So thank you.
And follow us here on YouTube. Shout out to all the YouTube followers. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And we got a whole bunch of content coming up, man. We got a nice series coming up. So once again, thank you to the panelists, Sister Zaza, Brother Kaba. Love you, appreciate you, honor your wisdom. Thank you for the college course you guys presented to us today. And you guys go and follow them on their socials and get their books, man. We got a lot of content. All right, y'all. This wraps it up. Saray, you want to close us out?
Well, you asked how would I close it out, and I actually hadn't considered it, but if I'm gonna ask for your permission, there is a poem that I put together for this moment. So if you don't mind, I'll close us out with that. Is that all right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, here we go. It doesn't have a name. Here it goes. Original intelligence, artificial elegance. No AI, no artificial stimuli can stop our light. We lead minds to water and make them think. Horses led to water, now drink. It all started way back before wood grains and Cadillacs could legally be sold to blacks. Before Martin and Malcolm entered the party, there was Mosiah, Marcus Garvey. He was the wind, the word was the seed. Well, I guess that's how it got to me. Because like seeds in the wind, my growths reach knows no boundaries. My mind now springs right like frost left. So listen when we speak, because when we speak, sight goes dark, thought goes silent. And out of darkness, through their long imposed silence, I roar. Because the ancestors running through these veins will sleep no more. Ashe.
Ashe.
Hey, come on, Queen.
I had to the spirit move, so I was like, I'm gonna just ask. So thank you.
Absolutely. We received all.
Thank you. Inspired by all of you. I was actually writing on it here in the moment. So inspired by all of you.
As you guys can see, Sister Saray is incredibly talented too. She's a musician, and follow her on her socials, man. Follow her. But we're gonna get up out of here, family. Thanks again. Appreciate everybody who tuned in. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Ashe.
Ashe. Bye, everybody. Good night or good morning, depending on where you are.